Welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Things seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet things every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. This is Dreamland. That is exactly what we're dedicated to, things you can't so neatly put in a box. Good evening, I'm Art Bell. As usual, Linda Moulton Howe from Philadelphia. Then the next week from Tokyo. So she'll be on the road, or in the air more likely. Can't get to Tokyo by road last time I checked. And then, of course, Dannion Brinkley. One of the more amazing people on the face of the globe, Dannion Brinkley. His latest book, At Peace in the Light, will be talking about many things with Dannion. So all of that ahead tonight. Let me tell you about GMX magnetic water conditioning before we begin. It works. And how much more I have to say than that? It works. It's been working now in my home over 3 years, in my spa for over a year. And it not only does it work, but it works so well that I cannot imagine anybody would have anything else. And I used to. I have well water, which has a lot of minerals, which really means hard water. And the first thing I tried was the machine method. You know, a big machine, backwashing, chemicals, all that. And it was horrible. On every front, trying to keep the chemicals in there, keep the timer working, which kept going out, and it was a mess. Then, finally, and I've got to be frank and honest with you, I would not have paid for it. GMX came to my home and installed these magnetic arrays on the input water pipes to my home, and I never would have believed it could work. And so I wouldn't have paid. But I called them back a few days later and said, you guys aren't going to believe this. And they said, sure, we'll believe it. I had conditioned water without any of the headaches. So can you. And because we understand that you might not believe it can work either, you've got a 90-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty. And that 90-day money-back guarantee means if you call them up and say, hey, look, I listened to Art, it sounded good, I tried it, but it didn't work, that's all you need to get your money back. Their number is 1-800-406-0469. That's 1-800-406-0469. Now, your weight. Would you like to lose some of it, 8 to 10 pounds in the next month? Can be arranged. Fiber can do that. Fiber uniquely pulls fat out of your digestive tract before you can absorb it. Chitosan, a new fiber from shellfish, so it's au naturel, not only does as other fibers, but on the way out, absorbs 10 times more weight than any other fiber. So, you get this incredible guarantee. Here's how it works. You order a 90-day supply of chitosan. With it, you get an antioxidant moisturizing cream free of charge. Eat as you normally do, and if you don't lose that amount of weight, 8 to 10 pounds in the next month, not only do you get your money back, but you keep the cream. That's a good deal. Number is 1-800-557-4627. That's 1-800-557-4627. In today's world of shaky currencies, massive borrowing, and higher interest rates, it might be time to get a little old-fashioned with your money. Time to buy gold. Most investors know that gold is a good investment during times of inflation. Actually, gold is a hedge against all forms of economic uncertainty. Gold's value went up 800% during the inflationary 70s, 15% during the market crash of 87, and 70% during the Great Depression. The Swiss refer to gold as the ultimate currency since it retains its purchasing power when all else fails. Eventually, all paper currencies inflate and fail. Even the celebrated Swiss franc has lost over 50% of its buying power since 1945. No paper currency is immune. Gold, on the other hand, will buy everything today that it bought 20, 50, even 100 years ago. So, if you're uncomfortable about the ever-growing government debt, perpetual deficits, rising taxes, and their effect on your personal net worth, it's time to face facts. Call North American Trading at 1-800-359-4255 and ask for their free information on buying gold safely and privately. Remember, 1-800-359-4255, North American Trading, America's trusted name in private hard assets. You don't have to be rich to own gold, just smart. From Philadelphia this week and Tokyo next week, here is Linda Moulton Howe, investigator into crop circles, animal mutilations, that sort of thing, but much more, really the environment. She began as an environmental reporter, won awards for her documentaries. This is Linda Moulton Howe. Linda, hi.
Art, hi. Well, you know, last Sunday I reported about the sightings of a large primate creature near the Ochipee, Florida cypress swamp in the Florida Everglades.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I interviewed David Sheely, owner of the Florida Panther Gift Shop and Big Cypress Trail Lakes Campground there, who said 2 men in black showed up at his house around July 29th, followed by half a dozen helicopters on August 1st above the swamp where the Bigfoot creature had been seen.
Right.
Now, according to Sheely, the men wanted plaster of Paris tracks and a sample of reddish-brown hair that Sheely had gathered from a tree. One of the men in black took the hair sample and said they would be back to ask Sheely more questions after analysis. At the beginning of the surprising intrusion in his home, Sheely said both men flashed ID badges, one of which had a half-inch red square the color of a ripe tomato in the upper right-hand corner of a card. On the air last Sunday, I asked for any information about the meaning of such a red half-inch square. This past week, I have received 2 communications by fax. One reads, quote, "A red square on an ID is a Department of Defense designation of a top-secret clearance for a person. Blue would designate secret," unquote. Another letter states, quote, "Have seen insignia as mentioned last Sunday. It was not on a card, but on a memo in my personal file, which I saw some years later. Most of the content was blanked out. I was, at that time, in the 1960s, working for the National Reconnaissance Organization. We were mostly all innocent photo readers and interpreters given only a minimal of information concerning each high-altitude satellite photo that we read. Those," and I'm quoting from his letter, "those bastards were periodically all over us. I mean that they would follow us back to where we lived, to the movies, vacations, and everything like that. We knew they read our mail, bugged our phones, and even watched our friends and relatives. On some occasions, they questioned several of us, would come to work, grab and escort a guy out, and we would not see him for the rest of the day. He could not tell us what happened. None of our bosses could do a thing but watch. They, the men in black, did not necessarily wear always black, but I recall always seeing them in dark suits, even in warm weather. Not always the dark glasses, but you were warned not to stare or notice them when they intruded into our work," unquote. Makes you wonder, Art, why there would have to be this kind of aggressive tactics on things like even satellite photo reconnaissance. Now, I talked with David Sheely today to see if he has had any follow-up from the men in black or any more helicopters near his campgrounds, and he told me it has been quiet since August 1st. Now, another story that I have reported in the past few weeks has continued to slowly evolve with millions of dead fish in North Carolina and Maryland related to the presence of the Pfisteria dinoflagellate creature that is part animal and part plant. Pfisteria produces bleeding open sores in fish, crabs, shrimp, and people. More seriously, Pfisteria can change into a toxic stage in which its poison can immediately kill fish and other river creatures and affect the lungs and short-term memory of humans exposed to the toxins. So far, however, this summer, the massive potential for another billion fish kills like 1991 and 1995 has not yet happened. One of the reasons for the reduced number might be related to the research of Dr. Joanne Burkholder, discoverer of the Pfisteria organism, and Rick Dove, the Neuse Riverkeeper in North Carolina. They have been trying to do accurate fish counts in the rivers and estuaries of not only dead fish, but those alive and with bleeding open sores that indicate the presence of the Pfisteria dinoflagellate. North Carolina's state government has no program to study the Pfisteria fish kills or to make accurate fish counts. So Dr. Burkholder and Rick Dove tracked what's happened to fish in specific Neuse River areas. What they have discovered is a nearly 100% absence of young Manhattan fish. Here is Neuse River keeper Rick Dove.
Somewhere. Well, we're not getting it, so there may be a problem with the recording. Linda, are you there? I think Linda thinks that we're hearing it, but of course we're getting absolutely nothing.
All right, I don't know what has happened. I don't know why. It worked fine, and it should be going through here. I do not know what is wrong here.
Usually something is plugged in either to the wrong place or not plugged in. That's one thing to immediately check for. And then if not...
Oh, I do this so often. Just a second.
When he did that this spring, and this summer, because we knew the state was not going to do that. And they would have missed all of these fish that are dying out there so far.
And so the Manhattan are dying off successfully day by day, week by week, but they're just not piling up on the banks.
That's correct.
And you've now lost all, what appears to be all or most of the young population.
That's correct. Let me tell you how significant the drop is. First of all, I'm not seeing any juveniles. And that doesn't mean they're not out there. I just can't find them, and I'm looking where they should be. But the other thing is, in the middle of July, I was throwing a cast net into the water, and 100% of the juveniles in the shallows were showing sores, fatal sores.
Wow.
In the deeper water, it was a smaller percent, and not all schools had 100%. Some of the schools were as low as 8%, depending upon where I was. But in the areas where we know Pfisteria to be very active, like between Otter Creek and Slocum Creek on the New South Shore, those fish were showing a very high percentage of sores.
And now you can't find any.
Now I can't find them, and the bigger Menhaden are showing sores, but only, I'd say the other day when I went out, it was less than 0.5% that had sores. But I could see, fatal sores, but I could see the beginnings of problems on a lot of those fish, which I could not count as a fatal sore. So I think that Pfisteria is still out there, it's still attacking, and there's a chance it's going to get a lot worse.
Sorry for that connection problem.
No problem. We got the essence of it.
Yeah, and what it is that they have almost 100% absence of the young fish. And Dr. Burkholder had told me earlier this summer that she was concerned also about a deterioration in the quality and the immune systems in these fish. And if the young fish have been dying out in greater and greater numbers, this may or may not relate to a kind of slow evolving death that they're seeing this summer, as opposed to a billion suddenly piling up all at once. And these are things they're trying to study and figure out, but they've got bleeding sores on a lot of the large fish now, as well as the absence of the young fish.
But Linda, if the young fish are simply gone, and if they're dead, and they were, barely missed, it's like saying all our children on Earth suddenly are gone.
I know. It really is a kind of one of those problems that you stand back and you say, what in the world is going on here, and what are the implications for the fish populations in each ensuing year? Maryland, I know, has had even some of its much larger fish affected this year in very, very large numbers. And as each year goes by, will the fish be able to replenish, or are we heading toward greater and greater declines in species that have fed these rivers for centuries?
And it's not just fish, but crabs too, right?
That's right, crabs and shrimp and just about anything that's in the water that is where the Pfisteria is. And then the big question, will it switch over into this massive toxic situation in which the air, the water, everything becomes contaminated and everything in it gets basically eaten up and killed. Now, that is what they have been waiting to see if it would happen in that massive kill this summer. And so far, we're only in the middle of August. It could happen in September or October, but they are concerned about this, what appears to be decimation of the young fish. Now, fish kills and water pollution are making headlines beyond North Carolina and Maryland. A couple of weeks ago, I reported about fish kills of beautiful tropical fish off the coast of Pompano Beach, Florida, where sewage is piped out to the reefs. And recently, the Environmental Protection Agency announced that residents in 47 states are being warned not to eat certain types of freshwater fish as states find pollution in more lakes and rivers. These fish consumption warnings are increasing each year, and right now, 15% of United States lakes, including all of the Great Lakes in Michigan, Minnesota, and Illinois, are included in the EPA advisory. The contaminants in the lakes and rivers include mercury, PCBs, chlordane, dioxin, and DDT. Now it has been made public that after the bridge collapsed July 14th, during the opening of an international sports festival in Ramat Gan, Israel, the 3 Australian athletes who fell in the river and died suffered from, quote, immediate and severe lung inflammation, unquote, according to the coroner's report. And that was from contact with toxins that they swallowed in the awful-smelling waters of the Yarkon River, which is full of industrial waste, pesticides, and partly treated sewage. The director of Israel's National Coroner's Office, Yehuda Hiss, said the severe lung damage in the 3 Australian victims was not like anything that he had ever seen before. Quote, their lungs had extensive injuries not only from the water, but from chemicals in the water which were then distributed to the bloodstream, unquote. Official signs posted along Israel's Yarkon River warn that fishing, swimming, and boating are prohibited. But residents remember in the 1940s how clean the water was for swimming and recreation. Since the 1950s, the river has absorbed poorly treated waste from sewage plants. Sadly, the Yarkon is not the most polluted river in Israel either. According to Dror Abazar, chief hydrologist for the Israel Union for Environmental Defense, quote, almost every major river inside Israel is polluted. It's terrifying, unquote. From rivers and lakes to oceans, the headlines keep coming that human industry and pollution are threatening life in the waters all around us, and ultimately threatening human life if the deadly cycle is not stopped. The cover story on the August 11, 1997 issue of Time magazine is, quote, sharks. We're killing them and lots of other fish much faster than they can reproduce. Are they doomed to extinction? Unquote. Fishermen are now killing between 30 million and 100 million sharks each year, sometimes just to cut off the fins for soup and tossing the bleeding bodies back into the oceans to die. According to Time magazine, quote, to date, only 4 countries, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, have implemented any sort of shark management plan, and only a handful have enacted laws protecting especially vulnerable species, unquote. The article also says that overfishing is not the only human activity that is jeopardizing life in the oceans. Just like everything else along the coast of the United States that I've been talking about, coastal pollution and habitat destruction, filling in wetlands and building dams are contributing to the crisis. Experts now warn that commercial extinction of shark and fish species could escalate into, quote, biological catastrophe, unquote. For example, in the western Atlantic, the breeding population of northern bluefin tuna is down to only 40,000 adults from more than 250,000 only 20 years ago. Half a dozen other fish, ranging from beluga sturgeon, famous for its caviar, to the Pacific salmon and orange roughy, could actually disappear, be gone forever. Finally, on the world climate front, scientists are now tracking a tongue-shaped slug of warm tropical water that has moved east across the Pacific Ocean to South America, covering more than 6,000 miles now.
Wow.
It's El Nino, and it's huge. According to Stephen Zebiak, a climate modeler at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, temperatures at the sea surface have been rising so rapidly that they seem likely to equal those of the notorious El Nino of 1982 to 1983, which left 2,000 people dead and $13 billion in economic losses. Typical negative effects of El Nino are wild storms in the Northwest in California and droughts and fires in Australia. But there are positives as well. There could be fewer Atlantic Ocean hurricanes this fall, a mild winter in the Northeast, and less tornadoes in the Midwest. And on that note of hope, Art, I'm going to sign off tonight to get ready to leave for Tokyo, where I will be speaking and doing television production. So my report next Sunday will be live from Tokyo. And for listeners who may want to reach me on any of these environmental issues and any other unusual phenomena, my fax number is area code 215-491-9842. It's 215-491-9842. Or write me at Post Office Box 300 in Jameson, Pennsylvania, zip code 18929. And as we close out this whole issue of what is happening to our Earth is a powerful challenge to all of us to try to get more facts and hopefully try to help.
Boy, I'll say. I'm getting some really incredible faxes and email, Linda, on the ocean temperature changes. The amount of temperature change is beginning to be very, very, very alarming.
Well, and you know, in addition to El Nino, which is coming across from the Pacific to South America, this fax that you sent me just a few minutes ago about temperatures in the Bering Sea have been recorded 10 degrees Fahrenheit hotter.
I know.
I did a story earlier this spring on that very issue, that even the tree ring growth that they've been studying are indicating that signs of global warming are there. And accompanying all of this is a news story that mercury contamination is dropping down in one of the poles and affecting plankton and krill.
Linda, we are flat out of time.
So
next week from Tokyo.
Yep.
Thank you, and good night. Linda Moulton Howe, have a safe trip.
Mom, I just saw these poor little kids on TV. They were so sad. They need food and medicine and stuff. Can we help them, Mom?
The need to help. Children see it clearly because their hearts have 20/20 vision. Want to personally touch a needy child and family overseas with self-help programs that really work? Call Child Reach. That's Child Reach at 1-800-598-8181.
Mom, can we call, please?
If you're overweight, the Catabolic Diet is the most effective, unbelievable program ever created based on over 100 foods that remove calories from your body. Did you know that every food that enters your body requires various body organs such as liver, spleen, stomach, digestive juices to complete digestion? For example, an ordinary piece of cake that has 300 calories may require 25 calories to complete digestion, but a catabolic food that contains 50 calories may require 100 calories to complete digestion, actually removing fat from your body. Diets based on catabolic foods result in staggering weight losses. According to the doctor that created the program, the diet works 3 times faster than starvation. One lady, written up in the Journal of Medicine, actually lost 256 pounds in a matter of a month.
To order the Catabolic Diet for only $19.95, call 1-800-292-2060 to finally lose those unwanted pounds. Call 1-800-292-2060.
How on earth do you relieve stress? Do you smoke? Do you overeat? Do you kick the dog? Do you get depressed? I'm Roy Masters, and for over 30 years I've been helping people to overcome negative behavior and discover true freedom from stress. If you've never heard anything like this before, I'm warning you. Tune in for radio that will change your life forever. For the better, that is.
How Your Mind Can Keep You Well, featuring Roy Masters. Listen here on this Talk Radio Network station.
This is HealthBeat. People with undiagnosed anxiety disorders often feel ashamed or believe they are crazy, weak, or simply self-indulgent. Psychiatrist Sam Turner says this comes from a fear of how others will treat them if they are open about their anxiety disorder symptoms.
Stigma is still a problem in that many people do not like to acknowledge that they have a psychiatric condition. And I think part of that has to do with how psychiatric disorders have been perceived in the community.
Doctors say people with anxiety disorders often think they can work things out. Friends and family members assume they'll get over their symptoms or personality quirks. But anxiety disorders are real illnesses that can be effectively treated. There's hope for the 23 million Americans who experience panic disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, phobias, and generalized anxiety disorder. For more information, call 1-8888-ANXIETY. For the National Institute of Mental Health, I'm Doris McMillan.
Persian Gulf, 1994. On board our largest aircraft carrier, the USS George Washington, an incident allegedly took place which till now has been a closely guarded secret. This incident specifically designed to have a crippling effect on our naval defense. The details of this attack have finally been made available in a book entitled Black Alert at Gonzo Station. Author and naval historian Julian Hudson has written a techno-thriller surrounding this incident, which critics have called a chilling edge-of-your-seat detective novel that defies the reader to put it down. This softcover novel is only $6.99. Now available through your local Barnes & Noble bookstore, or to order by phone, call 541-858-9542 between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. Pacific, 7 days a week. That's 541-858-9542. All major credit cards accepted.
Hi, this is Jim Brickman with today's Eco Quiz. You know, more than 13 million cars were recycled in 1995, and the old steel from those cars is now being used to make new steel products. Do you know what percentage of a typical passenger car's weight is recoverable iron and steel? Is it about 40%, 50%, or 70%? Here's the answer to today's Eco Quiz. About 70% of the weight of a typical passenger car today is recoverable iron and steel, but that percentage could go up when more recyclers start extracting the high-grade steel found in passenger car tires. You know, they contain about 2.5 pounds of steel apiece, and those big truck tires contain about 20 pounds. Remember, all steel is recyclable, so do your part. Recycle and buy recycled. It's good for us all. This is Jim Brickman on Eco Quiz.
Eco Quiz is a public service of the National Recycling Coalition and the Steel Recycling Institute for a more environmentally conscious America.
From the Kingdom of Nine, you're hearing Dreamland with Art Bell. To participate in the program, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255, 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222, or the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
Exactly what it is. Good evening, or good morning as the case may be. I'm Art Bell. Coming in a moment, Dannion Brinkley. One of a kind, Dannion Brinkley. KVNA in Flagstaff, Arizona. Hey, welcome to the network. They're 10 kilowatts, 600 on the dial in Flagstaff, Arizona. Glad to have you along. Then there would be KARN FM in Humnoke, Arkansas. Hope I'm getting that right. Humnoke, Arkansas, I believe. 101.7 on the dial there. Also, KKRN. That's KKRN. And where are they? In Cabot, Arkansas. Welcome to the network. And yet one more, KTSN in Elko, Nevada. 1340 on the dial in Elko, Nevada. Glad to have you along on the network. And welcome to Dreamland as well. There is some breaking news about the amazing Levitron. This, as most of you know, is the truly incredible device that actually levitates in midair. We've been advertising it now for over a year and have the best deal anywhere, and consequently have sold more Levitrons than anyone else, anywhere, ever. But recently astonishing developments concerning the Levitron that I'm not quite allowed to tell you about yet are prompting a once-in-a-lifetime blowout sale. Get this, folks, while they last. The original Levitron and the exclusive instructional video at the lowest price ever, $29 plus shipping until they're gone. This is half the price you'll pay anywhere else. I mean, half the price. And as a matter of fact, you still get the video. So all I can say is, all I can tell you right now is call right now 1-800-275-2877. Christmas presents, whatever. This is an unbelievable price, and there's an unbelievable reason for it, and I can't tell you right now. Once they're gone, we will not be advertising the Levitron here until further notice. So stay tuned, watch my website, call now, 1-800-275-2877. Levitron, that's 1-800-275-2877.
What could be more cutting edge than Art's unique guest or his phenomenal website? The answer? You. Now you, the listener, can help decide the content of the Art Bell After Dark newsletter. Send in your stories, photos, artwork, strange experiences, even news clippings. The best submissions will be published in the After Dark newsletter. You'll continue to get photos from Art's website and Art's articles, as well as stories and pictures you send in. You won't want to miss a single issue. To subscribe, call 1-800-917-4278 or send $39.95 for and a little more to P.O. Box 3130, Central Point, Oregon, 97502. Send your submissions to the same address. Articles must be typed. Do not send originals of photo or art, as submissions become property of CBC. Subscribe now. Call 1-800-917-4278. 1-800-917-4278.
Now comes Dannion Brinkley. And I have a few things to say about Dannion before he gets on the air. Personal comments. Dannion and I have become personal friends. And there was a period of time not very long ago when I was going through a very extremely stressful time of my life, is the way I would put it. And a very interesting thing occurred. Dannion Brinkley started calling the house, talking with my wife, who would not, without my knowledge, pass on to Dannion what was going on. But Dannion knew. Dannion knew. Intuitively and psychically, and however it is he knows these things, he knew. This is no joke, and this is no hype to get you to believe that he is something he isn't, because he is the real McCoy. Dannion Brinkley is the real McCoy. Dannion Brinkley can do things that would put a chill up your spine. Dannion Brinkley can touch things and know the story behind them. Dannion Brinkley, from thousands of miles away, can understand when something is askew, something is wrong. Dannion Brinkley knows. How does he know these things? I don't know, but I do know he's the real McCoy. I'm telling you that from first-hand experience, and there are not many times that I can report to you on first-hand experience kind of things. He's written a lot of books at Peace and the Light. Dannion Brinkley died twice. Once when he was struck by lightning, and once with massive heart failure. As a matter of fact, Dannion has just had some difficulties of his own in the last day or two. He is presently down near home in South Carolina, I think. So I think from South Carolina, here's Dannion Brinkley. Dannion?
Hi, Art.
Hi. Where are you actually? You're in South Carolina, right?
Well, I'm in Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach.
No matter how bad that heart problem gets. And let me say this first. Thanks for saying those things about me. So remember, innate in all of us is the ability to perceive and understand the world around us in different dimensions because we're spiritual beings. And I learned it from having a near-death experience, like a lot of your listeners know. And I'd like to say this, too, that from all the letters from the last show, of all the people who wrote, I appreciate their comments about you and about me and what they say, and how encouraging it is to know that when we are just honest and you talk about what's really real and what happens in your life, and people accept it from that place, then the world changes a little more. And I want to tell everybody who ordered my books, they're coming. I just didn't realize that many people loved you and me, Art. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, there's a group of people out there, all right, Dan.
They're wonderful. And so I think that what I decided to do from our last conversation was with this Zahi Hawass in Egypt and Robert Bivol, I decided to track them down and to see where and what the issues were and how to give a good report, like the lady who just spoke earlier, how to give a good report on my perception of being around these people in a group setting and seeing. And they just met at the ARE in Virginia, and it finished today.
So Zahi Hawass was at this meeting?
And Robert Bivol and, Dr. Zahi Hawass and Robert Bivol.
Was Graham Hancock there?
No.
No.
A guy named Ahmed Fihad, who's 3 generations of working on the pyramids. Hartwig Hanselsdorf about pyramids in China. You know, we think that business in Egypt is something, Art. You should see China. They have 100 of them, 1,000 feet tall.
Beneath the sea, off the coast of Japan.
in the middle of the jungle,
South America.
I never realized. You know, it's amazing to me. I never realized this. And when I listen to these guys talk, and I watch the engagement between Zahi Hawass and between Robert, and watch them talk on a personal level, you know, I perceive a lot of stuff what people don't really realize that I am perceiving about them. And there's some pretty wondrous and amazing things going on in this universe. And thanks to you and this show, people get to hear about it.
Well, Zahi, I understand, was going to talk about that which we've been getting hints about and had photographs of and people talking about, and you as well, the dig going on in the pyramid. What did he have to say about that?
He did a magnificent job. I mean, even the conversations between him and Robert Bivol were very gracious toward each other, and he had photographs. Zahi gave a complete rundown in the last 5 years, and he showed photographs of what's going on in the 5 upper chambers and the stuff written on the walls and the things that were being discovered. And he stayed pure Egyptology, archaeology, but he kept a wide berth in this conversation about what was capable of being possible of what's being found, even to when questioned about was there a second pyramid facing the other one because of the inscription in between the paws. And he said he did not know, but he was searching for that.
You're going to have to help me out there. I didn't. What are you talking about? A second pyramid where?
There is a story by Ahmed, who is a guy who is 3 generations of people who have worked on the plateau. His great-grandfather was the person who had discovered the entrance in the rear of the Sphinx in 1920s, in the 20s, when the French were there, and he was the one who helped the Egyptologists discover it, rediscover it. And, you know, when you have that dust in your nose every day for 3 generations on the Giza Plateau, you know a lot more about it. And part of the old ancient stories that came down from his grandfather was that there was once a pyramid that faced the opposite direction, and that this is a legend that they have, which is drawn out on the symbols in between the pyramids. And Zahi did not run from it, but he did not embrace it. And it was pretty intriguing when they asked him, and he says, well, I'm not sure, but we'll look into this. And what he came across to me as, Art, when you're a kid and you're really excited about something.
Of course.
He was excited as a man holding his own, speaking very, very well, and answering everyone's questions as each one asked them. But the excitement of what he was discovering on this plateau each day. And he made it very obvious that a woman riding on a horse, stepped in a trench and discovered this whole new area that they've discovered about where the people who helped, they say, build the pyramids lived and worked. But he gave ground, and he left it open to exploration, but his main concern that came across was preservation. And a lot of his lecture was, he said a lot of things that were happening were having to be slowed down or stopped because of the damage done to the pyramids. And he had slides, and he was showing the salt content of the perspiration, of where people come in. He had photographs of the graffiti. I mean, some of this stuff is 4,000 years old. Graffiti, 4,000 years old. And it had some of the other writings of people who had ventured into some of the chambers. But the dust and the rock, and this guy that we talked about before, he was open and honest about it. What came across was, even when he and Robert Bauval got into an exchange, it was a courteous exchange, and both opened doors. And I think that was the most important. It was really important, and that Dr. Hawaj took every question. He had his slide presentation. He was an Egyptologist, and he stayed to the course of being an Egyptologist, anthropologist. But he never crossed over to say that the possibilities of some of the things that people had talked about, proposals that were being submitted, did not have really honest and really good science as a possibility.
Well, you mentioned his excitement like a child, and I understand that. Did you get the sense that although he did a straight-on presentation, he knows more than he spoke of?
I would say he knows a lot more than he speaks of. Mm-hmm. And in a wondrous kind of way, though, Art. In a wondrous kind of way. A lot of times, how do you deal with the things that are happening so fast and discovering in the true history of Egypt, and then other places being excavated that he made mention to, and yet did not have reports on it because it's outside of his jurisdiction, but other reports to it. And even as he was talking about the exciting things of Egypt unfoldment, he left open the door. He was not, the way that everybody seems to appear that he comes across in this group, he did not come across like that. He came across supportive of people researching and helping understand. He talked about not being able to understand the lost civilization. How did they lose an entire civilization from the 26th dynasty? But what was really interesting about it was when he was talking, he began to describe how tombs from the 26th dynasty could be rebuilt and redone from the 4th dynasty. And there seemed to be a place in there to open up for the possibilities. He went so far, Art, as to say that in this guy who did the robot thing to the wall to open the shaft, the air shaft.
Right.
He went so far as to say that he was not hiding anything, and that he had gone to the director of tourism, and he had opened and spoken with him honestly about to open that up, to show that on a worldwide show. Say, hey, let's just look at this together and let's try to settle these issues so that we can get back to preservation, people focusing on what this mystery is all about and how to find whatever is here in a very orderly fashion, dealing with really preservation of it.
All right, here's a question for you that only you can really answer. That is, if Zahi should stumble into something that has implications or would be important for the whole world, and we all know that something like that may lie within some chamber, some buried something somewhere in the pyramid.
They are. We know it's there.
Yeah,
we don't know exactly where.
Okay, my question is, if he stumbled into it, Dannion, what do you think Zahi would do? Would it be announced to the world, or would it be hidden from the world?
I would say it's not completely in his hands if he stays within the context of the system that he described that he works in, the Director of Antiquities and the 24-member group, and just how he described what happened to the German guy who went outside of the recognized system of releasing information, and they closed him off from ever being on the plateau. I think if it's left to that system, we should be suspect. only because it's people protecting their entire culture and their history, and maybe some other issues involved in it. But I think if it was just Zahi Hawass, the honesty and the integrity would have to win out. The honesty and integrity would have to win out. It would have to win out.
But right now, if it were discovered right now with the present system, within that system, it would not reach us.
It would be suspect. But that's why I came on here to talk about it. We have the same problem with our own government killing everything that we have.
Yeah, we do.
We have the same problem. It is the responsibility of we, the spiritually minded, conscious people, to put our focus in our written word, in our voice, in our heart, and to drive toward that kind of openness. But not. I love the combativeness that went on. I thrive on a good fight. I have one with my dealing with hospice and HMOs and that business.
Well, Dannion, it's a little bit like the way the press ought to be with regard to the government. In other words, there should be always a contentiousness there. The press should always be looking into what our government and our officials do. That's what they're there for. They're a check on an otherwise out-of-control system.
Absolutely.
And so there should be contentiousness with regard to what's going on in Egypt. People continuing to ask questions and press, and it's going to result, in a lot of angry words occasionally flying back and forth, but I think it's got to be there, or when whatever it is that we all know is there is discovered, we won't know.
I agree. I'm not, I came into this as an outsider, and what I care about Egypt, and now is because I happen to love the people. And I'm not a person who really cares who built the pyramids. I'm just not that person. I'm amazed by the fact that they were built at all, and that someone would create such an elaborate search to support that there is a life after death is what so intrigues me about it. I didn't get really involved in the pyramid aspect except from the way that the afterlife in ancient and mystical teachings of Egypt until I ran across the Casey readings, where Casey said that this chamber, but what really got me interested in that, because when I first came after the near-death experience, struck by lightning, completely dead for 28 minutes, completely paralyzed for 6 months, and partially paralyzed for 7 months. Completely paralyzed for 6 days and partially paralyzed for 7 months. 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself, and never believe in one word of this crap. If you couldn't shoot it, or if you couldn't figure out how to blow it up, it wasn't important to me anyway. And then to come into this requiem where I see a story of like Edgar Casey and the ARE people, and I look at that what coincides with this Hall of Records to be undiscovered in the next couple of years is that Casey also said it recognizes the return of the Christ consciousness. Now, for a fundamentalist Christian and sleeping in a trance who never knew a single word he ever said, and when he got up, he had so accurately predicted through the years so many things, and he's missed some, I'm paying attention to the return of the Christ consciousness. I don't care. I guess I do care that there is a hall of records or a system of records that is supposedly dates our entire existence, that makes all of history rubbish, which in the course of my life, since I've been a part of history in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now into the 90s, I know how much of that stuff that we're told is not true, much of what's revealed on this show. But when you look at it, if this is the time of the Christ consciousness and the value and the rapid unfoldment and discovery in China, in the Yucatan, and in Egypt, which is the easiest one to walk up on,
sure,
that we could be the most focused on, I believe that we're living in the most exciting times, and I wanted to report to the people, and I wanted, when I find things out that I'm there, I want to be able to report to the people, like this lady just did, to report to Art Bell's people what I see from my heart, looking at it and talking to the people and touching them and being right there on the spot. Because I would ask Dr. Hawass, I said, look, can I come and look where I'd like to look and within reason? I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy who comes there and who's been for 20 years coming there.
How do you respond?
He said, sure. He will let me come and look. So when people have all these stories, and I'll tell you something else, Art. I had never heard Robert Duvall, and that is some pretty persuasive argument.
Yes, it is.
That is straight down factual persuasive argument, and I listened to it, and I was amazed at, because I'm not a UFO person or any person like that. I deal with dying. That's my whole life.
I know.
Is the quality of the final days of people who are in this world, but mostly Americans and veterans, and the quality of theirs, and my mom and dad and brothers and sisters. I mean, which is everybody, but my whole mindset stays there. But I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate how much being a friend of yours has helped open up my mind to look at so many wondrous events, just like this conference. This conference was amazing for me. This guy named Vincent DiPietro.
Yes.
This is a guy who's worked 20 years looking at imaging equipment for satellites.
That's right.
And he is an unassuming, wondrous guy, like a normal nerd kind of person. Well, I mean, I met him and I talked to him, who takes pictures and who studied pictures of pyramids on Mars.
Indeed. Hold tight, Dannion. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be right back. My guest is Dannion Brinkley. It's going to be a very, very interesting evening. Strap down, stay put. We'll be right back.
If you own an acre or more of meadow, pasture, woods, or even a vacant lot, get out your pencil so you can write down the toll-free number at the end of this message. In return, we'll send you all the facts about the amazing DR field and brush mower. The DR is the heavy-duty, walk-behind, rotary brush cutter that chops and mulches tall grass, weeds, brambles, brush, even saplings up to 1 inch thick. The DR is self-propelled. Its big wheels roll through rough areas, wet spots, even roadside ditches and slopes, places where you'd never want to take a riding mower. Best of all, with a DR, you can keep your non-lawn areas from growing up into unsightly weeds, brambles, and brush. So call this number now for a big catalog and free video of the amazing DR field and brush mower. Call toll-free 1-800-487-9933. That's 1-800-487-9933 for your big color catalog and free video all about the amazing DR field and brush mower.
This is Healthbeat. Arrhythmia. It is a medical term meaning abnormal heart rhythm. While any irregular heartbeat should be examined, Dr. Michael Demansky of the Clinical Trials Group at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute says a skipped beat or a flutter does not necessarily mean a serious arrhythmia.
There are some that are very benign. They're not a problem or a significant problem. Many people also develop other problems with the wiring system of their heart that goes with aging.
Arrhythmias can be caused by heart disease, but many times they occur in people who don't have heart disease. Arrhythmias can be caused by stress, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and fatigue. Dr. Demansky says it's a good idea for people who feel an irregularity of the heartbeat to see a physician for evaluation.
It often turns out to be something that doesn't even need treatment, but it may, and if it does, then it's important for it to be picked up early.
For the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, I'm Doris McMillan.
USA Radio Network News, this is Russ Rossman. Still no word on an agreement from the contract talks between UPS and Teamsters in Washington. They have been at it since last Thursday night, and with a few breaks here or there, the marathon talks could well result in an agreement. The strike is now 2 weeks old, and the U.S. Postal Service is making Sunday pickups to take up the slack. Station Manager Rick Carty in New York says his troops grin and bear it.
This is what it reminds us of, Christmas in August. But we're going well. Our employees have just rolled up their sleeves and done whatever we need to do.
A wildfire in San Bernardino County, California is close to being contained. 1,700 firefighters are battling that blaze, and spokeswoman Julie Richter says the nearby town of Wrightwood is safe.
We're at 51% containment. We have a strong perimeter around the entire fire. It's still down in the San Gabriel Canyon. It's burned about 10,000 acres plus. And we also have a strong fire break along the ridge that's protecting Wrightwood.
Meanwhile, on the East Coast, a different problem facing folks up in Massachusetts, coyotes. And there's word there that several dozen cats have been killed in just over a month.
They love cats. You know, they love to feed on them. Cats and small dogs. Yeah, we got one town here, I forget which town it was, but they had like 45 cats missing. And they proved it was coyotes, you know.
This is USA Radio News.
Slimy, scummy.
These are a few of the very scientific words some people use to describe their mouths soon after brushing their teeth. The second you put down your toothbrush, germs start to come back, making your mouth
Tasty, sticky, stale, tacky.
Fight back with new Cool Mint Listerine Tartar Control toothpaste with fluoride. It doesn't just kill germs, it keeps on fighting them. And you keep feeling it clean instead of
funky, gummy, gross.
New Listerine Tartar Control toothpaste. Strong on germs, long on clean. Use as directed.
Out? What do you mean out? He was totally safe. Give me a break. Hot dog. Get your hot dog.
Pressure, stress, spicy foods. When the game brings on heartburn and acid indigestion, you need powerful relief. You need Rolaids. Tablet for tablet, Rolaids can absorb 47% more acid than regular Tums. And it works fast. When the game gets to you,
I'm getting heartburn here.
Rolaids, R-O-L-A-I-D-S, spells relief. Use as directed.
New York City Police Chief Howard Safer says he believes up to 5 officers could have been involved in last week's arrest and gruesome beating of a Haitian immigrant who remains hospitalized in critical condition. New York's Mayor Rudolph Giuliani says the one officer who blew the whistle on the incident deserves praise.
It's always the first one that steps over the line, though, that is entitled to the greatest credit. And I think this police officer is entitled to a lot of credit.
But a group of black officers disagrees, and their spokesman, Michael Graves, called the mayor's comments irresponsible.
This officer's not a hero. He saw the law being broke and yet allowed a week to pass. And now, maybe to save his own job, he's coming forward before somebody tells on him. That's unacceptable.
In Washington, the chairman of the NTSB, Jim Hall, says he is disappointed that the nation's airlines have not installed smoke alarms and sprinklers in cargo holds in the aftermath of the ValueJet crash last year. This is USA Radio News.
Because I'm working outdoors all day, I tend to get really overheated, and sometimes I break out in rashes.
Kim Williamson of Atlanta, Georgia, relies on Gold Bond medicated powder.
So I always use a Gold Bond powder. It stops the itching.
Gold Bond medicated powder. Triple action Gold Bond relieves skin rash with a proven medicated itch fighter, the absorbing action of powder, and the soothing action of zinc oxide.
Gold Bond powder is very soothing to my skin.
Triple action Gold Bond. More than a powder, it's medication. Use only as directed.
The Fed's Open Market Committee meets again this week. Most analysts believe they'll again leave interest rates alone. We get more from USA's John Decker.
Analysts say attempts to cool off the economy by raising the cost of money may not only be unwarranted, but outright dangerous, since financial markets are already on edge. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 247 points on Friday. Analysts almost unilaterally say rates will remain steady until at least later in the year, when growth is expected to pick up steam. The central bank last changed interest rates on March 25th. John Decker, USA Radio News, Washington.
Agriculture Secretary Dan Glickman says he's sending a special SWAT team of investigators to Hudson Foods Incorporated in Columbus, Nebraska, in an effort to help find the source of E. coli bacteria in the company's frozen ground beef. Over 1 million pounds of the hamburger had to be recalled just last week. This is Russ Rossman on the USA Radio Network.
the Kingdom of Nye. We continue with your calls on Dreamland with Art Bell. Call Art now toll-free at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-TALK. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. 727-1295 in the 702 area code. Now again, here's Art Bell.
Well, yes, indeed. Once again, here I am. Our guest this evening on Dreamland is Dannion Brinkley. We will get back to Dannion in a moment. The UPS strike continues, talks continue, and my advice to all parties involved is you had better settle it quickly for the sake of the country, for the sake of small business. You had better settle quickly, and if you need fuel to understand why, let me tell you. The Sea Crane Company used primarily UPS as its shipper. The Sea Crane Company has now made arrangements to ship via the U.S. Postal Service, and they can guarantee to almost all of their customers faster delivery than they had with UPS. That is not to say they may not return to UPS when all of this is over, but they may not. That will go for many, 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 many companies. So before there's nothing left to argue about, I would suggest to the negotiators and to the company UPS they get it together and settle this for both their sakes. In the meantime, we can now get you a Beijing free-play radio like that. It is $119.95. Now, why should you want one? Well, no matter whether you believe we're undergoing a permanent climate change or we are about to experience the inevitable El Nino that is pressing inward, the weather is going to get bad for a period of time. Very bad. There are going to be big storms. When there are big storms, the power goes out. When the power goes out, you're going to want basics: food, water, information. Including that light, by the way. The Beijing radio does not require power from the wall nor batteries to put in it. In fact, doesn't even have a place where you can put batteries in it. It has inside the Bayless clockwork generator. And outside, all you see is a crank. You turn this crank for 30 seconds, and this radio plays all on its own for 30 minutes. AM, FM, shortwave, 8 shortwave bands. And so obviously, when the power goes out, you still get information. It's $119.95, and it can be on the way to you in the morning. Call them at 7:30 a.m. at 1-800-522-8863. 1-800-522-8863. And my advice to the parties involved in the UPS conflict is sincere. North American Trading is doing a remarkable thing for a very short amount of time. They are offering the St. Gaudens Double Eagle A gold coin with just about 1 ounce of pure gold in it at their cost. Companies that sell things at their cost don't remain in business very long. So this is a short-term, one-time offer. One-time offer. These are graded coins. The St. Gaudens Double Eagle graded MS62 by PCGS. 1 per family, and they're very, very serious about that limitation. 1 per family. $445 each plus $9 shipping. The number to call is 1-800-359-4255. And by the way, I would do it soon. You saw the 245-point drop in the market Friday. The price of gold is going to go up if the market continues to go down. That's 1-800-359-4255. North American Trading. Give me a minute to tell you about Ruthie and Larry Brown. You know, I've given GMX my personal endorsement for a long time now. In fact, this month I think I begin my 3rd year working with the Browns. I like their GMX water conditioner, and I guess you do too, because we've sure sold a bunch of them. But for all their success, the Browns are as real as their product. They have an office in their home in Colorado, talking to folks, sending information in GMX magnetic units all across America. GMX is the way to eliminate hard water problems. You know, that ugly white buildup known as scale, calcium, alkali, whatever you want to call it. It is ugly and damaging to your plumbing. It's easy. No salt, no electricity, no ongoing costs. And GMX magnetic units come with a 90-day money-back ironclad guarantee and a lifetime warranty. You really should give them a call at 1-800-406-0469. Once you've experienced the spectacular benefits of GMX magnetic water conditioning, you may want to go into business for yourself, and Larry and Ruthie can help you. That's 1-800-406-0469. Tell them Art Bell told you to call. That's 1-800-406-0469. All right, back now to Dannion Brinkley in Virginia Beach. That's South Carolina?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Oh, you're still in Virginia.
Yeah, I just got finished with the programming because I'm having a little heart problems, that pressure.
You know, I want to ask you about a couple of physical things, Dannion. One, when you were here, before we get on to what's going on right now, when you were here with me, I noticed you don't have any hair on your arms and stuff.
Yeah, comes from being struck by lightning twice.
What do the doctors have any idea why it would be that your hair would just simply go in and not come back?
Oh, let me tell you something even better than that, Art. Listen, let me finish with what I saw today.
All right.
What I saw today is a beginning of a dialogue that I think will have several more great encounters. But I can trust Zahi Hawass, and I can, and I know this. But I can also trust what Robert Bivol, what these other people are seeing. I mean, I'm very comfortable with being able to sit and talk to all these people involved in this and to bring it down to a place where either I can look or see to it that you can look, so that there is a very even course set in the spiritual awakening that comes to all of us as they discover these ancient artifacts from here to China. I wonder what happens if you dig into one into China.
I don't know. Dannion, one thing comes to mind, though. If you go over there and look, or I go over there and look, even if we are given what we believe to be a free hand by Zahi, and by the way, I'm going to be there October 4th. Okay, October 4th. But even if the both of us are given a free hand, Dannion, we might not know where to look.
Oh, true. But I mean, within the existing framework of what people are saying, I mean, I'm with you on this, Art. I'm young at this, but I'm willing, because of just the things that I talked about, that I will stay in the middle of it, and I will listen to all sides, and I will work continuously in every manner that I can, because you only got me interested in this. But I've met the people, I've talked to them, I've set a dialogue, so when something comes up that it comes from a listener or people that you work with or people that you talk to, I will be there, and I will give an honest, the best way that I can look at it, and usually it's from a hands-on or personal rapport with the person. And I just wanted to be able to give that because I came here to do that. Now, let me tell you some really cool stuff about my life.
Sure.
And in the course of going through 2 near-death experiences, and like I wrote in it, Peace in the Light, which there are no more Saved by the Lights hardback left in the world. You guys bought them all. There are still at Peace in the Light. I have some of those, so if people want one, you can write me and send me that money, and I will send it to you. But Art, as I've looked through medicine and alternative and compatible medicines in the last 22 years, which is something I never believed in before, and because I'm still alive regardless of what I go through, because of a lot of good doctors, I have a couple of really good doctors, but from a lot of alternative and compatible therapies, it's led me into this search to understand the mystical, spiritual way about us, and what the energy bodies that I saw both when I was floating above myself and the out-of-body experience. And from talking to so many people who are in the fields of Qigong, And I came across this whole dimension called lightning shamans, shamanistic tradition, the old arts of healing and inner understanding. And then one of these, which have a cultural history, called a lightning shaman.
A lightning shaman?
A lightning shaman. So I started looking and finding, I wrote about it in that piece. It's the last chapter, which is where I've, it's the next adventure in Dannion's saga of trying to find out who he is in the context of the spiritual, mental, because he knew who he was in the physical world. He thought he knew he was in the mental world, and he had no idea of who he was in the spiritual world. And I've learned I'm like everyone else who's listening to me on this phone. We are great, powerful, and mighty spiritual beings, and we have a job to do here, and we've come to do it. So what's really gotten really wonderful for me is I've always tried to figure out how from this very left brain side of me that I could make the transition. And just recently, they've come up with a new form of medicine in the Office of Disease Prevention in the National Institutes for Health. In rare diseases and disorders, a person being struck by lightning has now become its own form and discipline of medicine because of the unique things that happens to a person who are struck by lightning as opposed to people who have other forms of electrocution or electrotransmission.
All right, we'll talk about that. But Dannion, answer my one question: why will the hair not regrow on your body? Have they addressed that with you?
Well, they don't address things like that, Art.
They don't.
That's not something that they address.
All right, I interviewed. This is going to fall right in, Dannion. I interviewed somebody from a company called Pear Inc., which is a private company doing research on psychic ability and the ability of the human mind, for example, to influence a random number generator. Very, very interesting work. Came originally from Princeton, and they have begun to do EKG studies on people who are able to develop psychic or have psychic ability to determine where in the brain, and they're beginning to find out where in the brain there is activity when they're using this kind of ability. And I would think that it would be possible, Dannion, that your brain and the brain of anybody else struck by lightning could be activated in a way that other brains are not. I don't know, that's just a stab in the dark.
Well, when they create a new discipline of studying of medicine and make a rare disease out of it, a rare disorder out of it, don't you think one of these guys must have read something about what happens to lightning shamans?
Yes.
The history of them, Art,
is what?
Is we become intuitive. We become healers. We have a certain amount of consciousness about us that begins to keep an open spiritual consciousness or a cosmic consciousness. And in the traditional cultures that I found, like 15 of these cultures, and one of them is Peru, that the person, this is what's always drawn me. When we talked one time when I just come back from Machu Picchu, you kept wondering what was wrong with me because I wasn't screaming like I am now. But it was because the person who is supposed to have created the Inca dynasty, he was struck by lightning. And that's the history of the Inca people. And Machu Picchu, I have absolutely no doubt, the first time that I saw Machu Picchu, I knew inwardly, intuitively, before I heard the story, that this is someone who had been to the Crystal Cities, and they built one. And when I heard that, when I went to the ruins, and I realized that it was once blue and white plaster, this beautiful blue and white plaster, perfectly set, geometrically composed place on the side of that mountain, was his way of interpreting back in the world the crystal cities that I went to during the near-death experience, where I went to the places of learning and and I saw the visions and things like that. And so,
you think that shaman saw what you saw?
Oh, absolutely. And then you see where I've become comfortable now. Now that it's become a rare disease, a rare disorder, I know they know more. And so my whole new experience, what I'm going after now, is to find out about this. And I've been through I've been around one day I never believed a single word of this. You know, just a complete jackass, and I'd give you 1 second of my time in these kind of issues, and if I didn't slug you, I would ridicule you for at least 2 years. To a person that it happened to me. Like this lady, she was, like, people would ask me, they said, well, I don't really think you have this ability, and, you know, I can do some pretty wild stuff.
Oh, yes, you can.
And I said, you know, I worry a whole lot more of how it works than I worry about whether I have it. Because it came to me from when I came back from the near-death experience. And I'd been struck by lightning, and Raymond noticed this about the second time that I was struck. I mean, the second time.
Everybody won't know Raymond Moody.
Okay, Dr. Raymond Moody. And I never noticed this because I live with me all the time. But I was struck by lightning a second time, and then I had heart failure in 1989.
Right.
And he says since 1989, it's the dimensions that it grows in is phenomenal. From him remembering the early days of how I would struggle when I would perceive stuff to try to put it into a framework where now I have developed a framework to put it in. What I write about in that piece in the light, and what this next book is about, called If It's True, What Shall We Do, is how that through hospice work and being around close to people who are leaving this world, how you develop that sense of knowing yourself. Spirituality is being developed in so many new disciplines. Like I just read that in the nursing, the Association of Nurses, that they're creating a whole new teaching modality about spirituality. And I watch in the work that the people that I do and the people I work with, that they are becoming intuitive and not having to be struck by lightning. So I know that what happened to me is either, since we're electrical chemical, it overloaded my systems because I was fried. And then also that I think that once a person realizes that you don't die, like today, this lady asked me, she says, well, what is your interest in this? And she wanted me to take sides in all of it, whereas I'm open. And I said, look, lady, when you know you don't die, and a second issue, especially the issue for me because I'm such a jerk, is that I'm not going to go to hell. The rest of life just becomes something very interesting to do.
Secondary.
Yeah, no, it's not secondary, but it's interesting.
No, it's secondary to the fact that you don't die. Of course it is. Everything else of Earth is secondary to that.
I agree.
Once you know. And you say the title of your next book is going to be?
If It's True, What Shall We Do?
If It's True. That's a great book title.
But you know why? Listen, Art, I sit and get the input because people just talk to me. And I listen to them, and I listen to what goes on in their thoughts. And they don't realize I'm perceiving a lot of the stuff about them as they talk to me. And I learn and feel and experience the anxieties and the issues that people not only are confronted in their life, but they have no methodology, no way to deal with it every day, because the people who are responsible for giving us that are liars, like how the government operates and how healthcare operates and how just a denial of certain information keeps us from being able to make informed choices, which keeps us controlled. And I watch it in the world that I live in, and where the hospital HMO corporations for money, who have said they were doing the best that they could do, and they were suing doctors and cutting doctors' benefits if they paid somebody or took care of somebody one moment past a certain amount of money. Yep. That person died a horrible death. And so it brings it all the way down to that this is where the real fight is. It's in the environment. It's in looking at conspirologies and unfoldment from now to the next millennium. But where it really is in our moms and our dads, our veterans, when the Department of Defense says that they never believed it. The CIA had created home models, and 100,000, 14 guys died during Desert Storm, and 100,000 have a disease that's killing them, and 14,000 people died since they came back. Another 100,000 have it. And not only that, their children are developing the symptoms.
I know.
Now, when you have that, there's also a place where when you kill veterans, and then you don't take care of them, you have pushed it to a point where this country is in our mental, physical, and spiritual selves, we better stop, we better shake it off, better take our head out of the sand, we better stand up. Because Because as this world is evolving and the instabilities because of health and weather and because of climates and governments and the fall and the rise of Eastern cultures, we are in serious trouble.
Speaking of trouble, just a personal question, Dannion. Last few days, you've had some trouble. There are people who actually thought you had died. What happened?
Well, because of, I have to take blood thinners because of the aortic valve that I had. I had to have a St. Jude's valve, and I have to take blood thinners, and you can't regulate the blood, and you can't have vitamin K, and if you do certain things or it gets too hot, then your blood thickens, and then my valve will clog up, and then I have a heart failure. So I was by not regulating, because you can't. I mean, it's just something that you deal with every day. And then I have to worry about mutating staph and staph infection, which will kill me instantly. Then my blood is so thin because I have to take so much Coumadin that if I cut myself, I'll bleed to death in 45 minutes, and just these little issues like this. And my blood got so thick really fast that the valve begins to clog, and I begin to die.
And that happened. So it came close again.
Yeah. But I mean, that comes every year or so, or about every 8 months I get something like that. But this was really too close for comfort.
When was that?
That was Thursday.
Thursday.
But you know what, Art? I'm not afraid of dying.
I know that.
I want to. If I'm going to die, I want to die fighting for something that I truly believe in, and because I have the opportunity to talk and get out there. There's so many of my brothers and sisters that's on this, listen to this radio, that are locked in and working really hard, have a family to raise, a wife to look at, and the opportunity very limited to get to the places that I get to get to. And I want to be out there so I can say, hey guys, this is like you do, Art. This is what I see. This is how I see it. And this is what it's worth to me to be out here for you, because if you had been through what I've been through, and you've just gone through it and you struggle with it, and you're here trying to help me.
Hold it there. We're at the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back.
Communicating with children might seem easy on the surface, but children have limited experiences and language skills. Adults must be aware and make special adjustments. Learn more in this month's Topic of the Month article by Myrna Oaks. To get your free copy, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Topic of the Month, P.O. Box 3755, Central Point, Oregon, 97520. Communicating with children, this month's Topic of the Month.
If you are concerned about the health of your family, this may be the most important and frightening message you may ever hear. Did you know that due to the heat and perspiration that your body gives off while you sleep, your pillow becomes a breeding ground for fungus, mold, and dust mites, all of which may cause severe allergies and possibly other more serious illnesses? Now, at last, there's the Ecology Pillow, manufactured using a special blend of DuPont patented antibacterial Dacron fibers, proven in lab tests to control the growth of bacteria, mold, mites, and other common allergens. The amazing new Ecology Pillow will help make you and your children allergy and bacteria-free while you sleep. You'll notice the difference immediately.
Call 1-800-228-1080 to order your Ecology Pillow. Standard size is only $19.95, Queen $24.95, King $29.95. Call 1-800-228-1080. That's 1-800-228-1080. It's the best investment you can make for the health of your family.
If you own an acre or more of meadow, pasture, woods, or even a vacant lot, get out your pencil so you can write down the toll-free number at the end of this message. In return, we'll send you all the facts about the amazing VR field and brush mower. The DR is the heavy-duty, walk-behind, rotary brush cutter that chops and mulches tall grass, weeds, brambles, brush, even saplings up to 1 inch thick. The DR is self-propelled. Its big wheels roll through rough areas, wet spots, even roadside ditches and slopes, places where you'd never want to take a riding mower. Best of all, with a DR, you can keep your non-lawn areas from growing up into unsightly weeds, brambles, and brush. So call this number now for a big catalog and free video of the amazing DR field and brush mower. Call toll-free 1-800-487-9933. That's 1-800-487-9933 for your big color catalog and free video all about the amazing DR field and brush mower.
Pull up a log and have a seat around the campfire in America Outdoors with Lance Podolsky.
Not high-tech, not glitzy and glamorous, it's not up on a high horse. It's about our basic instincts to survive, feed ourselves. It's about understanding what the world has to offer and how to enjoy it. It's about getting back to the basics, no frills. It's about the outdoors. I'm Lance Podolsky. Join me for America Outdoors.
Sunday mornings here on this talk radio network station.
There I was, back in the wild again.
Men are from Mars.
Women are from Venus.
Oh, you read the book?
Not yet. Sounds good.
Oh, it is good.
You've read it?
Heard it. I got it from my audiobook club.
Wait, it's an audio book, too?
Oh, yeah, lots of bestsellers are now. John Grisham, The Partner, Oprah Winfrey's Make the Connection, Scott Adams, The Dilbert Principle.
But who has time for all those?
I do, and you do, too, if they're audiobooks. I listen to mine while I commute.
I could do that.
If you'd like to listen to the books you haven't got time to read, welcome to the club, the Columbia House Audiobook Club. Join now and take any 4 of today's best audiobooks for 99 cents. Call now for our book list. Pick any 4 you want for 99 cents. And remember, there's always time for a good book, if it's an audiobook. Does not include shipping and handling. Members must purchase 4 titles over the next 2 years at regular club prices. Call 1-800-336-2824 for details. 1-800-336-2824.
That I would have a huge slumber party with all the girls there. Play with me more often. My mom's so busy with the board meeting. Spend more time together with family. Do more out of the house activities. This is a tough one. My parents, they do everything. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have a roof over my head.
They don't need to show it to me, I just know they would.
Well, not yelling at me very much.
Raise my allowance.
Not argue together.
Have my dad be home more for dinner and stuff so that it could be even closer.
Family, isn't it about time?
God teach me to love me.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, that's the next question.
From the Kingdom of Nine, you're hearing Dreamland with Art Bell. To participate in the program, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
That's who we are. Dannion Brinkley is my guest, and he'll be back in a moment. By the way, when we get to it, the east of the Rockies line, east of the Rockies, is 1-800-825-5033. That's 1-800-825-5033. Now, absolutely fresh flowers uses as their shipper, and always has, FedEx. So there is no disruption in service, none whatsoever. And here's the deal, straight out, $42.95, and you order this gargantuan shipment of miniature carnations directly from a flower farm. They are technically a company, because they have to be. But several years ago, they began selling directly to the public and have virtually given up all of their, well, not all of, but most of their wholesale work. So instead, they give you a wholesale deal. And you have no idea, just no idea how many flowers that means you get. Whoever you send them to is going to be just floored. This giant triangular box with bunch after bunch after bunch of these miniature carnations, so many of them, they last so long. I'm not going to get over for a while the facts I got from some young lady last week, which said they were so fresh that they lasted longer than the boyfriend that sent them. Oh, really love that. Anyway, give it a try. Inside the box is a card from you, and it's all handwritten. Your message, whatever you want to say. And then your name signed at the bottom. All handwritten, very personal, very emotional, extremely effective. The number to call 24 hours a day, including right now, is 1-800-562-6438. That's 1-800-562-6438. Are you overweight? Would you like to lose an average 8 to 10 pounds in the next month? We know that fiber helps sweep fat out of the digestive tract like a broom, reducing the amount of fat your body stores as excess weight. Well, let me tell you about a revolutionary fiber, Kaito-san. It's a natural fiber that comes from shellfish. It not only sweeps fat, but also absorbs up to 10 times more fat than other fibers. You can get this fiber in a formula called Kaito Slim. Kaito Slim is effective because you can lose weight without changing your eating habits. And there are no stimulants. It's a gentle, effective way to lose excess weight. Here's the special offer. When you order a 90-day supply of Kaito Slim, you'll get an antioxidant moisturizing cream absolutely free. Call 1-800-557-4627. It's guaranteed to work or your money back, and it's not available in stores. So call 1-800-557-4627. That's 1-800-557-4627. You've got nothing to lose but the fat. Indeed, nothing but the fat. Good evening, everybody. I'm Art Bell. My guest is Dannion Brinkley. As you know, I have a book called The Quickening. You can get The Quickening by going into any bookstore now in America. It's everywhere. We'll tell you how to get Dannion's books shortly. As a matter of fact, we've run him out of several. I guess one title or two. The Quickening just made its appearance in bookstores nationwide, so that's what you do. Go into a bookstore. Barnes & Noble would be good. There are many varieties. And simply ask for The Quickening by Art Bell. Here once again is Dannion Brinkley. Dannion.
Hi, Art. And what I was finishing was before I get so carried away, but if I wasn't going through this, and as I go through it, it's like literally all that I'm going through is what everybody's going through with their parents and their brothers and their sisters and your children and trying to make the right decisions. Well, I'm not only living in that world, I'm not only a hospice volunteer. I go through the horrors on a daily and weekly basis of what a lot of people are really terrified. So I'm really settled in the death issues and of health care and the issues that we all have to face and we all have to deal with. And as I experience them, I guess the way that the spiritual side of things is designed for me to be is to live it all at one time, so that as I go through it, I can understand where a person is in an intuitive sense, which I'm notorious for it, is what I was thinking about earlier this evening when you were talking to me, that you really didn't realize that I was the way I am about perceiving and being intuitive about things. And
you know something, Dannion? You shook me up.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you did.
But you see, when I'm around people that are my friends, then they see the person of how quickly I can touch it or look at it and perceive it, and how I can know its history, and how I begin to live as if I am it. In the early days, Art, it drove me crazy.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is it a blessing, a curse, or both?
It's this. It's a blessing disguised as a curse. But in the early days, I had no control whatsoever. when I was paralyzed and the nurses would come and hold me in this tub of water trying to find, this whirlpool and stick these needles in me and stuff, they didn't realize that I could literally at the same time hear all of their thoughts. And it would be run in like overloading me. And once I could get out of the hospital, I couldn't go in a place because I would be picking up so much about the people around me now. Right. As I've gotten better, which is healing, then I'm not as intuitive as I was then, and I'm so thankful for it. For everybody out there listening who thinks that they are not intuitive, forget it. You are. And I just didn't realize that. But all right, I can teach people. I mean, it's nothing unique about Dannion Brinkley. I found out that the way I came this way was just all of a sudden one day from being struck by lightning, and then going through the fact that I know there's a world after this one. I know that there's an expansiveness of our spiritual selves that far supersedes anything in the physical concept, and I think that help opens me up.
Dannion, I have a question for you. You said that at first, right after you were struck, when you were recovering, it was so bad, you heard everything around you from everybody who was around you. And then it began to fade as a natural course of the events over the years. But you also began to learn to control it. How did you, can you describe how you're able to control it today?
Well, a lot of times, and I write about it in At Peace in the Light. I mean, I write about it. A lot of times, Art, I've chosen to take this art form, which is what I think intuitiveness is, and to focus it in dealing with closure with people leaving this world. That, you find a place that you wanted to develop. At first, it just went wherever anybody went.
Yeah.
But now, since I'm around the death process so much, then I took the talent and the art form, and I focus it so that the person leaving this world and the people staying, that I can pick up the anguish, anxieties, joys, frustrations, things that are going on with them so that they have closure. I teach it in the people who work in the program I call the CIA. I'm getting even with them. It's called Compassion in Action, and it's the Twilight Brigade. And people, it's an internet site, and it's a loosely knit organizations of people all over the country who use the techniques that I use in hospice work and in nursing home work that are having pretty wild results in the course of that. But they're really helping people find closure. And I want to give you that address, too, in case someone wants to get, they want to be a part of it or,
sure.
Okay, later on. But
just tell me, though, is there a mental way for you to kind of turn it off? Are you able to turn it off?
I can't do that.
You can't see. That's what I was after. You really can't do it.
No, I can't turn it off. But I can set a value. See, what we have to find out is, and I think what would be used as what we would call morals, but to have a value, a quality of what you want to give back when you receive it is the greatest mechanism. I've learned so much to control it as well as develop it. And, I study everything that I can find about it. I have absolutely no doubt that there's a life after death. I have absolutely no doubt that we are legendary spiritual beings. I have absolutely no doubt that we all have intuitive natures in us. Some vary in the degrees, but perception and communication between two beings is a natural part of our existence. And I learned it from watching the communication when I was floating above my body after being struck by lightning. I could see the energy fields around the two people, my wife and my best friend, as they interacted. I didn't have an energy field around me. And all the way into the ambulance, I was aware of these energy fields around plants and around people. And I realized that what we don't see with our eyes still doesn't mean it's not there. And that we communicate with each other through these wavelengths of energy, that we surround each other in fields of energy. Like listening to the lady when she was giving her report when we first came on.
You're talking about Linda Moulton Howe.
I know things about what she's sitting and looking at, what's on her mind.
I know.
I mean,
I know you do. And
just as easy.
And I can't help but wonder how much of a curse it remains. In other words,
it drives you crazy, Art.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I mean, to know things about people almost instantaneously.
In the range, you know, it's not like it's a range. I see details, the stuff that I describe to people that I'm seeing, but I see whole natures of people that, you know, sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad.
Right.
But, you know, I live in this world and I play the hand I'm dealt. I'm not a person that lives in a wishful world. I wish for a better world for people who are struggling to understand how to make the decisions about their moms and dads and how to raise their children and how to find their own spiritual link in a world that is quickly shifting. And I would like to, without any question, recommend The Quickening to everyone who is listening.
Thank you.
This is a terrific book to get a good look. And when I read it, I looked at it and I realized that this is the opportunity that people can get this book and get a really good global perspective on what's going on in the future and how it will evolve. And that one thing that why I guess we all love Art Bell so much, Art, is that you have gathered information from so many sources that when you put it in a book form like you did, it really helps people make decisions about what to do. So I highly recommend it. So what I stay in is, if I'm going to be this way, and there's nothing that I can do about it, and I'm going to be in places where I can deal with the toughest issues that come about, I'm just not afraid, then I'm thankful for it. But if I had to live with this, and without having a spiritual place, a place to care and love and really know that I'm giving of my spiritual intuitive self to help people, then I really wonder about those people who have this art developed in them from children, like the Chinese stories and the things that I'm seeing, what we really have to worry about.
Did you see the movie Phenomenon?
Well, yes.
Travolta?
Mm-hmm.
Reminded me of you.
It came from, the story is, Art, is it came from one of the early scripts of Saved by the Light, because everybody, you change certain things, but it happened to me. I went through all of that. I still have notebooks of equations. I still have trunks of stuff that I wrote down, and I still don't know what the hell it means. You know, I'm not the Swami Rama. You know, I came into spiritual unfoldment answering the damn telephone. One day I never believed one single word of this crap, Art. The next day I was dead, and the day after that I started becoming everything I despised and never believed in before. So mine has been a struggle with it, and to try to find a context, like people say it's a God-given right, and they have all these words, and most of the times when I run across those people who are supposedly psychic, they're frauds, and I can sense it in them. When a person is perceiving, there is a form of energy that I detect in my sinus cavities that is detectable. Like I can smell radar and turning televisions off and on, but I can pick it up. And it has a fragrance to it. And I teach people, when you do hospice work and you work with the CIA, Compassion in Action, this is the group, then we teach it and we talk about it and we have conversations about it, and a lot of nurses and a lot of people who are a part of this really realize that it's a natural part of them.
I have another question for you before we leave movies. Have you yet seen Contact?
Isn't it terrific?
Yes. And
just like what happens in the near-death experience.
Well, that's where I was going, Dannion. The tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
The movement, the meeting with, in this case, her father.
Dynamic Life Review.
Even though all of it was Dynamic Life Review, even though all of it was revolving around ET contact.
Oh, yeah.
The parallels were unmistakable.
All right, don't you understand? Thanks to, like, and I'm proud of my part. I'm really proud. Like, myself and Raymond and Betty Eady and Elizabeth and Melvin Morris and Paul Perry and some of the great pioneers. We have dragged the near-death experience in the mainstream America. I watch it interwoven in so many things, and the story of me and a few other people that I see interwoven in it, that has created a way that we will never be able to be beaten back. they'll never say it. They can never go back to oxygen brain deprivation and temporal lobe seizures and all kinds of shock and stuff like that. We'll never go back. I'm really proud of all of us who stood our ground and created a way that you can explore your deep, mystical, spiritual traditions and ways without putting a religion in it, an institution in it, or a government in it. The near-death experience is a byproduct of cardiopulmonary resuscitation techniques, so they are guilty of giving us, for us who come back. So it's like really caught the government and medicine in its own quagmire. But I'm really proud of all of us who stayed the course, and now it's mainstream.
One last movie, an older one, Flatliners. Do you know offhand, Dannion, whether there is actually or whether there have been actually any experiments, in effect, duplicating what you went through and others have gone through?
Well, attempts to do that.
Scientifically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hear about that stuff all the time.
Well, you wouldn't hear about it very publicly.
Well, no, but I hear about it because I'm a member of every part of every little group that deals with lightning and
so it is going on.
Electrical transmission and death. You hear about research done in China and in Russia.
Yes.
Because they want to. The Chinese and the Russians are working diligently in programs to develop intuitive skills and capability. They don't really give a damn how they develop them.
I'm sure.
If they have to kill them, fine. If they want to electrocute them, fine. They're developing whole ways of the mental prowess. I have no doubt that the power that is capable in the mind, for I'm watching them, amazed by it within me every day. And I know people like James von Prague and George Anderson. And these are people who use that capability to cross from this veil to the other side.
Interesting you should mention James von Prague. I'm going to be interviewing him in the next few weeks.
One of the best art. I've seen 30 of these so-called mediums. I believe in that nature of mediumship because it happens to me on occasion. I've had conversations where I'm listening to someone talk to me, and I couldn't figure out why no one else in the room was hearing the person talk. And it was at the celebration of the 100th birthday of a person who's a pretty famous person. And I started describing the conversation and the verbiage and what this person and how they put the inflection on the word. And simultaneously, 3 of the 4 kids says, "That's Dad." And I went on to, when they were talking, I went on to tell them exactly what he was saying. It was about singing a certain song in the summer when they went to Montreal and things that there was no way I could know. I didn't know any of this stuff. It's the personal family reunion stuff, and he wanted to hear them sing the song. So I know that that's possible, and, I've solved some murders because I either become the perpetrator or I become the victim. And I've done this work. And I've seen James and George, and I've seen maybe 2 others out of 30 that are real. And I watch them close, and I know them personally. And it's just one more step in us unfolding in the deep spiritual nature, and to realize that there is a life that exists after this one, and it is over there, and it's here, and it exists, and it has multi-levels and dimensions to it, and it's as exciting or 10 times more exciting than this life, depending on how you look at it. And I'm trying in my way to support these people. Like George Anderson did a painting of what because he communicates through Christ, he says. He did this painting. He had commissioned this painting. And I sat with George and I said, "George, what in the world is all this?" And he told me what it was that he had done and how he had done this. And he did it so that people could raise money for a foundation to deal with helping parents who lost their children, and for grief for them, and to develop programs. That's how it came to me to ask me to help in working with that. But James is really good, Art. I mean, he's good, and he's helped so many people deal with this, and I think that's my mission. I mean, I want to I like the pyramids, and I'm going to study shamanism, but if I can help people deal with empowering themselves to control and be in control of their health, and to know that they're making the right decision with their moms and dads and children and how you deal with the final days, how you prepare for those, and how you go forward after that. And in the course of it, to have developed an intuitive perspective. I think if you're going to lose somebody, someplace is going to gain them. And that place is going to gain them this spiritual realm, which I have seen. And if I have to lose my mom or my dad or my brothers or my sister or my friends to some place, I'm comfortable with it being there. But I might as well benefit as much as I can so that I can go on living in a strong, courageous, loving way as this world unfolds and we prepare for a millennium. You know, Art, it is amazing that in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we who are here at this particular time and juncture in this world are preparing for a millennium. Not the end of time, but the beginning of one. And our thoughts and what we do and how we control the next legislative process from now to the next presidential election, which happens to be a leap year, which happens to be a millennium, how we mark that millennium is the true mark of our spiritual place on this earth. Remember, I always tell people, when you leave this world, when you leave it, you will have a panoramic life review. You will literally see and feel everything you've ever done.
Okay, Dannion, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Do you think you'll be here for the millennium?
Oh, yes.
Do you have knowledge? Have you ever seen how long you're going to be here?
Oh, yes. I won't miss it 3 weeks. When my window of opportunity to get out of here. And I promise you this, son, I will be taking it.
All right, Dannion, hold on, rest. We'll be back after the top of the hour. My guest is Dannion Brinkley. And when we get back, I'm going to remind myself to tell you how you can get his book, At Peace in the Light. I'm Art Bell, and this is Dreamland.
There's a naval battle being fought on land. Every day, Navy volunteers combat homelessness, hunger, loneliness, and illiteracy. Their battle takes them on journeys into uncharted waters, deep inside themselves, and to ports halfway around the world, tapping their honor, courage, and commitment. Make it your battle. Call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit the Navy's website at www.navyjobs.com. The United States Navy, serving America twice.
Would you like to see your child use perfect manners every day? They will with the help of It's Just Good Manners, a new video now available only in this special offer. It's Just Good Manners with host Eddie Katz teaches children excellent table manners, telephone skills, how to write good thank you notes, show respect for home and property, punctuality, and much more. No boring books to read. Children learn by watching a fun video that demonstrates good everyday manners. Parents will love the change they'll see after just one viewing, and children will watch it again and again because it's so much fun. It's Just Good Manners is not available in stores, so order your copy now.
Parents and grandparents, order It's Just Good Manners now. Dial 1-800-255-7100. The video, $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling. It's Just Good Manners. 1-800-255-7100. Have your credit card ready. Dial 1-800-255-7100.
More than 140,000 Americans have joined Peace Corps. Returning home, their experiences last a lifetime. Meet Sandra Hood, a substance abuse counselor, and Jean Lee, a community services director.
Overall, my Peace Corps experience has enriched my life in ways that are very hard to define.
Peace Corps service prepares me for what I'm doing now because it taught me how to think quickly on my feet.
Call 800-424-8580. Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
USA Radio Network News, this is Russ Rossman. United Parcel Service Chairman Jim Kelly appeared on CBS Face the Nation and said while he's optimistic, firing the workers may be an option.
The last thing I want to do is replace UPS workers. We want UPS workers back on the job, and if they had the right to vote, they'd be back on the job today. Unfortunately, that's being denied. As we go further and further down the road, we'll have to consider all options, but it certainly isn't something that I want to do.
Also on the program, AFL-CIO President John Sweeney. He believes the labor movement is succeeding.
I'm pretty confident that the labor movement has bottomed out in terms of their numbers, and with the organizing successes that we're having and all of the other parts of our organizing program, I think that you're going to see some growth.
Those talks between UPS and Teamsters have been steady since Thursday night, with the exception of a few hours of shut-eye. Elsewhere, about 10,000 acres of forest land northeast of L.A. is still burning. It's now 51% contained.
If you can imagine a bowl with the ridge line being the perimeter of the bowl, and the fire is actually burning down in the middle of the bowl. And the strategy is to put the fire line along the perimeter because the sides of the bowl are just too steep to get crews or equipment down to the edge of the fire.
Forest Service spokeswoman Ann Westling. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Personal safety has become America's recurring nightmare. Last year, there were more than 2 million home invasions. A recent survey reveals that more than half of the people in America knew someone who was a victim of a serious crime. Now you can fight back with FRED. That stands for Fast Response Emergency Dialer. FRED comes with a speakerphone and a lightweight remote control that allows you to have an instant two-way conversation with your local 911 operator at the touch of a button. Forget about expensive monthly monitoring fees and wasting time talking to a middleman. The FRED system has no monthly monitoring fee. To find out how you can enjoy peace of mind and never pay a monthly fee, call 1-800-369-1400 now to order FRED or receive your free brochure. That's 1-800-369-1400. FRED also has outstanding distributorships available. FRED, instant peace of mind without a monthly monitoring fee. 1-800-369-1400. That's 1-800-369-1400.
Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat plans to boycott Israeli products in retaliation for travel bans and economic sanctions imposed on the Palestinians. USA's John Decker reports.
The Palestinian Authority said it would contact Israeli business leaders, including the local makers of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. A Palestinian official said they would face a boycott if they did not help put pressure on Israel. The Palestinian Authority said about $9 million worth of Israeli goods are imported into the West Bank and Gaza Strip every day. Israeli officials accused Arafat of trying to divert attention from Israel's security concerns and failing to crack down on Islamic militants. John Decker, USA Radio News, Washington.
China is asking the U.S. to lift sanctions against it on the sales of nuclear equipment and high technology. The Beijing government claims it'll help reduce the U.S. trade deficit. No response yet from the White House except to say they are considering the request. You're listening to USA Radio News.
There you are, in the same little restaurant where you proposed. The champagne's chilling, your waiter's just bringing in roast duckling for two, and you get a toothache. You need maximum strength Andesol to relieve pain on contact. No leading toothache product you can buy is more effective in relieving pain. Maximum strength Andesol. Put it on, the pain is gone. Oh, and happy anniversary. For temporary relief of open cavity pain, use only as directed.
Kids in Texas schools aren't allowed to take pagers with them to class. In fact, it is against state law. In Corpus Christi School District, they have even imposed a fee on parents trying to get the pagers back, a $15 fee. Al Ortez heads up security for Corpus Christi schools.
In the past, we've normally just confiscated the pagers and returned them back if they had extenuating circumstances to the parent or to the paging company. But this year we're looking to see about adding an administrative fee of $15 to cover the cost of handling these pagers.
Space Shuttle Discovery preparing for its return to planet Earth Monday morning, wrapping up an 11-day mission in space. The shuttle is due to arrive at NASA's Kennedy Space Center at 7:14 a.m. Eastern Time Monday morning. Russ Rossman on the USA Radio Network.
the Kingdom of Nye. We continue with your calls on Dreamland with Art Bell. Call Art now toll-free at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-TALK. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. 727-1295 in the 702 area code. Now again, here's Art Bell.
Once again, here I am, top of the evening or the morning. It could be either. Great to have you along. Dannion Brinkley is my guest, and we'll get back to him in a moment. I'm shortly, in about a week from now, going to Alaska, and then late in October to Egypt and Israel, and I'll be all over the place. Greece. I'll be in Rome, Pompeii, and of course up on Giza pyramids. And I'm going to take with me several devices. One of them, you know me in electronics, is going to be the Magellan 2000. It is a remarkable device. There are 37 satellites out there, polar orbiters, a constellation of satellites, actually, and they all report to this little electronic device about the size of a big pack of cigarettes. You know, the 120s, about that size, a little bit bigger, handheld. And when you turn it on, it begins acquiring satellites. Boom, 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 boom. You will see the acquisition of the satellites. And when it has enough satellites, it will suddenly give you a readout of degrees, minutes, and seconds, and tell you precisely within a few feet exactly where you are on the face of the globe. You can do it in Alaska, Egypt, or the jungles of South America, or your living room. It's incredible. It'll tell you how far above sea level you are. It'll tell you how fast you're moving, even if you're walking. It's an odometer. It's a million things in one. It could save your life, or you can just have a lot of fun with it. It operates on 4 AA alkaline batteries. And if you want one, we have a very limited supply. They come from the Sea Crane Company, and the Sea Crane Company can get things to you now like that. Again, I send out word to my friends at UPS and the union. Better get it settled. People are beginning to find other ways to do what they need to do. Settle your strike. So Bob Crane can get it to you quickly. Call him at 7:30 in the morning and get a Magellan 2000 on the way. The number is 1-800-522-8863. 1-800-522-8863. Let me tell you about GMX one more time. I'll give you my prime example. I have a terrible back. I fell off a pole once. Impacted on my butt and my elbow, and it impacted, L4 and L5, and it's been bad ever since. As a matter of fact, actually, I have that accident thanks for getting back into radio, because I just can't do the kind of climbing I used to do. At any rate, I thought, well, when I get a little money, one thing I will buy is a hot tub therapy for my back. I installed it, put water in it, went out the next day, looked at it, and I was horrified. Even though I had this wonderful composite material all around the hot tub, here was this deposit of whatever you want to call it, scale, calcium, alkali, gunk, minerals, right at the water line where it touched the composite material. I mean, it was really thick, and I thought, oh, no. And I called GMX, since I already had it in my home. They sent me an emergency shipment of magnetic arrays, which I then clamped around the output side of the water pump to the hot tub, and went out 24 hours later, and it was all gone. Gone. Dissolved. That's what GMX does. It affects minerals in a way that will not allow them to stick to anything. So effectively, now you have conditioned water without any of the headaches of the normal ways of doing it. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee, so if it doesn't do what I say, you get your money back, period. The number to call is 1-800-406-0469. That's 1-800-406-0469. 9. There is breaking news about the amazing Levitron. This, as most of you know, is the truly incredible device that actually levitates in midair. We've been advertising it here for over a year, and we've got the best deal anywhere, and consequently have sold more Levitrons than anybody else anywhere. But recent astonishing developments concerning the Levitron, developments I can't quite tell you about yet, are prompting a once-in-a-lifetime blowout sale. And while they last, the original Levitron and the exclusive instructional video at the lowest price ever, $29 plus shipping, until they're gone. Friends, this is half the price you'll pay elsewhere without the video. So call and get one right now at 1-800-275-2877. Once they're gone, we're not going to be advertising the Levitron until further notice. So stay tuned, watch my website, and call now. 1-800-275-2877. That's 1-800-275-2877, Levitron. All right, back now to Dannion Brinkley. We are going to begin taking calls for Dannion here in a moment. So I want to remind everybody east of the Rockies, if you want to get in, the number is 1-800-825-5033. Dannion, this will mean something to you, I guess. Tell Dannion his current hospice patient, or one of them, Indy, is sitting up, eating well. Tell wonderful. Tell Dannion to get some rest, as in Friday.
That's wonderful.
So there you are.
That's a guy who I've been with for 6 years. Broken neck, blew up in a building, burned his skin off, broke his neck, and he's paralyzed. And yet he struggles, and he helps me. He opens letters from Art Bell, and he helps me send the books out. And he went through a tough time. He's in failure. I mean, we talk about leaving this world and the joy of it. And he finds hope in building and looking and helping me with what I'm doing. And he went from they gave him up to we brought him home. And my friends that are around town, he's in Aiken, South Carolina. We go over and we work shifts. We spent 2 weeks ago, I spent 2 24-hour shifts with him because he's really sick. But he's stuffing books in envelopes and addressing the outside so that everybody gets their book. So he was really sick when I left him, and I wasn't sure if he would get through it. And so,
well, and I talked to you earlier in the weekend when you thought Dreamland might have been on Saturday. You were kind of in a confused state. You'd been up too long, and something had just happened to you. So you needed to get some rest, and I've observed this in you, and I'm not even psychic. You drive yourself until you're ready to drop, and then you drop for a while, and then you're okay again. Why do you do that?
Well, Art, I watch it come very fast. One thing about writing those books, I'm still the person. I'm just Dannion Brinkley, and I see something happening, like in healthcare. And I see people, veterans, dying by themselves in the most horrendous kinds of ways and no one caring about them. And I see Steve, Indy, this friend of mine, and I have so many people all over the country that my life is, I'm a soldier myself, and my life is only as valuable as their lives, as if it was combat, because they're fighting to find their spiritual self as they get ready to have, and they've served this country to make a transition to this next world. And I owe it to them. It is the value of my life as a soldier. It's the value of my life as an American. It's the value of my life as a person who had a near-death experience. And I don't just focus on soldiers and veterans. I mean, I care about everybody, but I have a special place in that. And what pushes me, Art, people tell me that I got to take better care of myself.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Well, I listen.
I watch you go until you're ready to drop, and it's going to get you one of these times. And you're supposed to be around for a while to do something, so you have a responsibility to yourself as well as others.
Well, I have outlived all the rest of them. I'm still here. 20 years ago, they gave me up. They gave me 6 months to live. I listened to that for 10 years. Then I got struck by lightning. Then I had heart failure from complications from it. They gave me about 9 months to live. And here it is 8 years later. I live in some pretty horrendous things, okay? But you play the hand you're dealt. But if I'm going to have a value in my life, I'm going to have a value of just a guy who had 2 near-death experiences. That is not, I'm not fearless or a hero. And I see the change in health care, and I'm watching it formulate itself now. And the value of my life is protecting not only the veterans, but protecting the quality of life of my family.
Well, then there's value in your continuing your life for as long as you can.
That's why I stayed in Virginia Beach tonight instead of going to South Carolina.
Yeah, see, that's what confused me, because you said, I'll be in South Carolina when I talked to you on Saturday, and obviously you decided better not do that.
Yeah, and I decided I could dodge the doctor better up here so he doesn't put me out in cardiac intensive care.
Yeah, well, stay there and rest until you know you're right.
Okay, so...
All right, anyway, look, here's some phone calls. You've got to take some phone calls. And
all right, but I want to make sure that I give people the information about where they can find out about things that I'm doing.
You will.
I'm supposed to do that.
We'll get it on. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Hi, I'm Janice from Tacoma.
Janice, you're going to have to get into that phone and speak up to us.
Okay. Hi, I'm Janice from Tacoma.
Right.
Hi, Janice.
Hi, Dan. And I have been trying to get a hold of you this way for a long time. My computer went out of me, so I can't email. I had an experience many years ago where in the middle of the night, I thought I was dreaming, but I found myself standing engulfed in white light. I was in my bare feet, at least I felt I was in my body. And I went to look down at my body, and it was light too. I went to touch it. It didn't quite feel like flesh, but I felt I had a body. But there was light totally around me. And on the, I could feel like a floor because it was very smooth.
That you were standing on or lying on?
Standing.
Okay, looking down at your body.
Looking down at my body, and my body was just light. I was just lit up. You couldn't even distinguish any lines, but I knew I was there, but I was part of it. And
I can understand the phraseology very well, Janice. I know for everybody who's out there listening to this, there are no terms in the English language the moment you move outside of this context. Mm-hmm. What you're listening to is a person who in the hypnagogic states, which are the states in between awaking and sleeping and awakening, where so much happens in our existence. She is describing in that dimension her being in contact with her mental and spiritual self. That's great stuff.
Well, you know, I didn't really understand it because it's been bothering me for years. I've written to near-death experiences, and they couldn't answer my questions or answers because I threw a lot of stuff at them because I've had a lot of paranormal happen in my life. I've had a lot of dead relatives come to me because they seem to be very attracted to me.
For what reason?
I don't know, but they have a tendency, they touch me or they call my name, and they're always trying to communicate, but they never seem to spit out what they need to say.
Well, maybe you don't know that, because I'm not sure of what you're describing to me, because I'd have to... The first thing that you just described to me, when you were talking about being out of your body and looking at yourself...
That resonated. Obviously.
I have absolutely no doubt that that's occurred.
All right, Dannion,
now, the other stuff, I don't know. I'd have to be closer to you. But here's the point. Start by understanding this. We are spiritual that operate in this dimension in a physical plane, but we are really something greater and more powerful than this place will ever be. By the course of things that could happen from what you ate to things that influenced your everyday life, like an argument, or trauma, or falling off a pair of steps, or getting struck by lightning, we enter that level of consciousness. So start just in accepting that you're a spiritual person, and like all of us. And the uniqueness of this event that's happened to you, you're able to pick up other realms and other dimensions, and start looking at each one of them individually. And I know the feeling about having people talk to you when, you know, I have this problem. If I'm doing a lecture, and I'm close to the audience, the people who know audience members who've passed to the other side will start talking, trying to get me to tell them stuff. And before I know it, I have 10 or 12 entities talking to me, trying to get me to tell the people that I'm talking to, that I'm close to, what they want to tell them. And it's happened a lot of times, and I usually just tell the people in my audience, listen, if you see me start pacing and talking really loud, it's because I'm trying to override them so I can tell my lecture instead of listening and telling all of you what they're trying to get me to tell you.
Oh, it must be something. Your book, At Peace in the Light, is right now the only one left, huh?
That's it. Grapevine Light's in paperback, but the hardback edition, what I offer us...
We wiped those out last time.
Oh, you wiped them from the face of the earth.
All right, but At Peace in the Light is available through you.
Yes. The hardback version, you know, I kept as many of them as I could because I knew that there are the people that I really wanted to get to them after the big book push, and I kept hardback, so it came as a part of that they were contributing to a spiritual project as well as that to their own education in it. And it's At Peace in the Light, and it, you know, half price. Send me $12, which is $10 for the book and $2 for postage, and I will sign it to you and send it back.
Wow.
Well, it's my way of saying, hey guys, you know, here you can get it for the price of a paperback, a little more than a paperback. It comes from me, and
signed.
I hate to say that I don't not hate to say, but the people who are around me who help package these books they're hospice volunteers and hospice patients. And, you know, we help each other and we sit around, and it gives me a way to bring them all to my home, or I go over to where they are. They have somebody around them talking to them and spending hours and not alone. And they talk about it, and we all read your mail, and we think about what you say to us, and we put a lot of love in those books, and I sign them. And
Dannion, what's the address?
Okay, it's Post Office Box 1919.
P.O. Box 1919.
Aiken, A-I-K-E-N, South Carolina, 29802. And please put Art Bell is Wonderful on the envelope. And everybody puts it in big, broad letters, Art.
Really?
Art Bell is Wonderful is half the page, so everybody keep putting Art Bell is Wonderful, because I'm saving the envelopes, and I'm going to build me a little teepee outside of Art's house, just made out of the envelopes that said Art Bell is Wonderful.
Dannion. All right, Dannion's book is At Peace in the Light. Half price for the hardback book. That's what we're talking about here, the hardback book, not the softcover. $12 to P.O. Box 1919, Aiken, A-I-K-E-N, South Carolina. That's Aiken, South Carolina, zip code 29802. And there's one other personal matter that I want to cover with you, Dan, for my audience. My audience, before anything ever began to happen, that I talk about on the air, I do a 5-hour talk show every night. There's no way in hell I can come on here sometimes under the pressure I've been under. And not just talk about the fact that I was under some pretty critical pressure before they knew it, before I talked about it, you knew it, and you started calling my home. And I've told my audience that this was really a critical occurrence in my life, and that I had to talk about the pressure I was under, but couldn't talk about what it was all about. And I would hope that you would tell these people, because you know what it's all about, that there is no way, for the sake of others, that I can talk about it.
Absolutely not. I'd like to tell everybody who's listening, because I picked it up and knew about it from just one talking to Art for a brief moment. And I came out, I listened, and then finally I wasn't going to put up with it. I was coming for him to tell me, so I came to see him. For everybody who thanked me I got a lot of letters, Art, from people who thanked me for taking and being friends to you through it, whatever it was. Everybody that's listening. For the safety and protection of a lot of people close to Art, in a heartfelt way. And for what he was going through, it is amazing to me that he was able to hold up under that pressure and do a 5-hour show every night. and for all the love that everybody sent to him and all the care and concern that you relayed to me in the mail, let it be that he's not keeping a secret from you. Where a man's dignity and his pride and his heart and having to make the really true right decision, which goes to give everything that the grain of a man is, and he's made that decision. And it's to protect, it's not art protecting himself, it's art protecting people as close to him as maybe his whole family. So for everybody out there listening, keep sending him that love. But he made it through it because of you, and things will be even better.
Thanks, Dannion.
Well, because,
it's just that, some people out there, they think that I'm just, somehow teasing them and telling them something horribly is wrong and holding it back secret. I can't not talk about the pressure, but I can't tell what it is either. And
no, you cannot.
It's kind of a,
You cannot do that, and also, Art, a lot of people that I got letters, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of letters. That's why the books, people, I want everybody to know they're coming. I had thousands, and people really wondering and really caring about you, Art. And everybody, keep thinking and caring about him, and think about the pressure on his whole family. Because if Art's going through something, all his family members are going through it. And there was a tough decision he had to make as a man, but it was the right decision. And he is not keeping anything from you that if there was any way I could tell them, he would tell them. But, I just feel for you, Art, because it was eating me, and I had to finally come and see you, and I had to threaten him to get him to tell me. So,
all right, folks.
I'd like to get people, before I take the next call, Art, there's something really important to me.
All right, we're at the bottom of the hour, so just mark that down. When we come back, we'll get to that. In the meantime, if you want a book at half price, Books He's Held Back hardbacks, it's at Peace in the Light. It's $12, including the shipping. P.O. Box 1919, Aiken, A-I-K-E-N, South Carolina, zip code 29802. From an area near Dreamland in the high desert, this is Dreamland.
You may be paying too much for your life insurance. Most people are not aware that the premiums for the same level of coverage can be dramatically different from company to company. By shopping around, it's possible to save hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Most people don't have the time nor the expertise to do a proper job of shopping for life insurance, but the Best Quote organization will do the shopping for you for free. They compare rates from the country's highest-rated life insurance companies, and when you call their toll-free number, they'll send you a free, no-obligation comparison of the policies that represent their best value for you. Listen to this. I'm 40 years old, and Best Quote found a $250,000 term life policy for me for only $18 a month. The other rates I've been quoted didn't even come close. Find out how tens of thousands of others have saved up to 70% on their life insurance. Get your free comparison by calling Best Quote's 24-hour toll-free number now. Call at 1-800-407-4554. That's 1-800-407-4554. Coverage is available in most states.
Okay, attention everybody. It's time for Michael's report. Michael?
The sun. The middle of the sun is 30 million degrees. If it had that hot, it would burn a small town to the ground. The heat from the sun travels 93 million miles to the earth in about 8 minutes. The sun's UV rays then shoot through us like deadly lasers, cooking us like worms on a sidewalk, causing nasty, unsightly basal cell carcinomas.
1 out of 5 people will get skin cancer in their lifetime, usually from excessive exposure to the sun before the age of 18. Protect your kids. Use sunscreen.
Thank you, Michael. That was, very informative.
Thanks.
Did anyone help you with your report?
Yeah, my dad. He's a dermatologist.
A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Hey, I started taking a new vitamin. Oh, yeah? Yeah, it's the latest thing. It's got antioxidants. The stuff they say may help slow down the aging process. You ought to try them. Jerry, I've been taking antioxidants for almost 10 years now. What? You knew about antioxidants 10 years ago?
No, but the doctors who make my vitamins knew.
What do you take?
MDR Fitness Tabs. You know, MDR as in medical doctors research. The experts who make the medical discoveries we'll hear about in 10 years.
Yeah?
And that's why Sue and I take MDR vitamins. We don't have to worry about keeping up with the latest nutrition news. They do it for us. And they send them fresh direct to our home.
Beats a multivitamin, huh?
Yeah. Comes with a morning and evening formula with 21 nutrients for good health and energy. Just call MDR toll-free. For $5, you can try their vitamins and get this sports radio free. Hey, when you spend $5 to feel like $1 million?
You bet.
MDR is not available in stores, so credit card customers call now to try MDR for just $5 and get a pocket AM/FM sports radio free. Call 1-800-313-1600. That's 1-800-313-1600.
This is Healthy. Children too often learn unhealthy behaviors as they age. Being sedentary is one of these. But a large study in nearly 100 public elementary schools in 4 states shows that kids, all kids, can learn to be physically active for life. The study included white, African American, and Hispanic students, and those from different economic backgrounds. Here's Dr. Tom McKenzie of the Department of Community Pediatrics at the University of California, San Diego. Dr. McKenzie was a researcher with the study.
The intervention was conducted in California, Louisiana, Minnesota, and Texas, and there was an increase in the physical activity of the children in all 4 states.
Dr. McKenzie points out that the CATCH program works by using physical education classes already in the schools. Classes met 3 times a week and involved kids in grades 3 through 5. For the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, I'm Valerie Yarbrough.
Young or old, married or single, everyone needs a will. If you don't have a current will, peace of mind is just a phone call away. With a lawyer-approved National Will Kit, you can write your own will for less than $20. Easy-to-follow directions in your National Will Kit show you how to simply fill in the blanks in the will form we include. In an hour or less, you'll have an up-to-date will, one that's legal in all 50 states. Remember, without a current will, the courts will decide who gets your estate. And the guardian children. A stranger could choose your final resting place. Order today and we'll include a free living will guide, one that assures your wishes will be followed in case of an irreversible injury or illness. This $8 value is free if you order now. Have a charge card handy and call 1-800-224-1112 to order your National Will Kit. Only $19.95 plus shipping for the Will Kit and Living Will Guide if you order today. Satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-224-1112. That's 1-800-224-1112.
From the Kingdom of Nye, you're hearing Dreamland with Art Bell. To participate in the program, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It is. Dannion Brinkley is our guest this evening. He'll be back in a moment. Are you overweight? If you are, we can do something about that. Great American Products can. They've got a product called Kaido Slim. In it is a very special fiber called chitosan. It comes from shellfish, hence it is natural. It will remove, as all fiber does, fat from your digestive tract, but chitosan in Kaido Slim will remove it at 10 times the rate of any other fiber. So you have this incredible guarantee. You can eat as you normally do, no sudden pigging out just because you're using this. Just eat as you normally do, take this, and you will lose 8 to 10 pounds in the next month, or you get your money back. Moreover, when you order a 90-day supply of Kaido Slim, you get an antioxidant moisturizing cream with it free. Use it because if you don't lose the weight, you get your money back, and you keep the cream. That's a pretty good deal, huh? And they'd sure go broke if it didn't hold up with that kind of guarantee. Number is 1-800-557-4627. Once again, listen carefully and write it down, 1-800-557-4627. 4627. Kaido Slim. In today's world of shaky currencies, massive borrowing, and higher interest rates, it might be time to get a little old-fashioned with your money. Time to buy gold. Most investors know that gold is a good investment during times of inflation. Actually, gold is a hedge against all forms of economic uncertainty. Gold's value went up 800% during the inflationary 70s, 15% during the market crash of 87, and 70% during the Great Depression. The Swiss refer to gold as the ultimate currency since it retains its purchasing power when all else fails. Eventually, all paper currencies inflate and fail. Even the celebrated Swiss franc has lost over 50% of its buying power since 1945. No paper currency is immune. Gold, on the other hand, will buy everything today that it bought 20, 50, even 100 years ago. So, if you're uncomfortable about the ever-growing government debt, perpetual deficits, rising taxes, and their effect on your personal net worth, it's time to face facts. Call North American Trading at 1-800-359-4255 and ask for their free information on buying gold safely and privately. Remember, 1-800-359-4255, North American Trading, America's trusted name in private hard assets. You don't have to be rich to own gold, just smart. All right, several things. Christopher Ruddy, a very famous newspaper columnist for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, a man who I used to interview constantly on the radio, has done a front-page review piece on me. Talk about a turnaround. The profile piece on me, Christopher Ruddy did. He actually came out here. And it appeared in Sunday's Pittsburgh Tribune Review on the front page, of all places, on the front page. And that article is now available on my website. You can go up there and see it at www.artbell.com. People write me and say, you talk about your web page all the time, never tell us how to get to it. That's how you get to it. And by the way, there is a photograph also of the man we're speaking with now, Dannion Brinkley, on the website. Dannion didn't know that. We took some photographs, and I've got one up on the web. Anyway, my web address is www.artbell.com. All right, back now to Dannion Brinkley, who had something he wanted to get out, and then I've got a question I must ask. Dannion, go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to do, Art, is because so many people always are talking to me about how to be a part of changing things and, helping me in what I'm doing. And I wanted to tell people that, those who still have their piece of paper and pencil, here is a way that I believe that if we start today from Dreamland and we follow this procedure, we will have begun to change so much about our healthcare system and change it to a caring healthcare system. I've been studying the alternative and compatible medicine era from the FDA to Leonard Horowitz to everybody who's ever told me anything about it.
Right.
And I found out that we have two bills. They're called the Access to Medical Treatment Act, and they're Senate Bill 578 and House Bill 446. And what this bill is it gives us as patients and as individuals the right to be treated by any healthcare professional with any medical treatment that we choose. And I believe, with all my heart, from everything I've seen in the visions and in now 22 years of being one of these people, that this is one of the most important pieces of legislature that we could possibly ever commit to pass.
All right, it was Senate Bill 578 and House Bill what?
746.
746.
And I'm asking everybody out there to call and write their congressman and this senator and ask them to please support this bill. And if they're interested in information about the bill, or they're interested in what I'm doing with the Compassion in Action to be a part of it, I wanted to give them these numbers so they could call or write and help me put this together and become a part of it.
Sure.
It's called Compassion in Action, and it teaches the techniques that I've learned and studied throughout the years. It keeps an update on what's going on in the alternative and the spiritual nature of applied medicine, with stuff from Larry Dossey and Judith Orloff and Will Raymond, and everyone else that I can get to contribute to it. It's Compassion in Action, and it's Post Office Box 84013. It's Los Angeles, California, 90073. And the email address is CIADMINALOL.com. And why it's in California, this is something I'd like to really tell everybody if they get a chance to tell someone to appreciate this. When you hear about Hollywood, what happened when I tried to begin to figure out how to do this and to develop a program and then a foundation where people could come on and they could have companions on the email and over the internet where we can talk and keep up with the daily hospice riggers and hospice volunteers and how to keep information passing between us. Paramount Studios, Fox Studios, and a whole group of people in Los Angeles came together to help me. And I'd like to make a special say thank you to Paramount, and thanks to Fox, and thanks to Copelson Productions, and even more thankful to the Veterans Administration in Los Angeles for helping develop innovative programs to help veterans, and to the general veteran systems. And we hear a lot of stuff about VAs. They're taking really good care of my father, and they're doing the best they can, and I want to help develop programs for veterans. And so if people would write me, I would send them pieces of all the information, and if they're interested in the medical excess bill, since I'm underwriting it myself, if they send me $1 or $2 so I can pay for the postage to send the information out, or anything that they would donate, it's tax-free, I'd appreciate it. And I just wanted people to know how to find me. And one other thing, Art, people who are listening out there, I'm going to Egypt too. I've been going there for years and years. I go to the Yucatan because I believe this Mayan business and that pyramid story, and I go to Peru. If they're interested in that literature, just write me. Please try to send me a stamp when you send it to me, and I'll send you the information out of the 3 places that I go. So if anyone's interested in going with me, you know, you're welcome. And mine are spiritual adventures. I try to take people out of the world that they live in and explore the mystical and geological and archaeological place, but yet really help them change and deal with trauma and grief and loss of people, and try to keep the price really low. So for all you people who like really rich tours, please don't call me.
Dannion, I've got a whole bunch of faxes here. People
I'm done. That's all I needed. Thanks.
All right. You had a series of visions which were documented. About 80% of these have come to pass. I'm getting a gazillion faxes here asking, please, to tell us some of those that have not yet occurred that lie directly or nearly ahead.
Well, what we have to really watch out, and this is my most important one for me, and what's happening with the medical system. We must pay close attention to every piece of information that we hear from the establishment of hospitals and HMOs. One of the most troubling parts of the vision to me was that if there was ever going to be a crisis where, as we would grow spiritually, there would be a system put into place to control what we're doing, that system is now taking place. HMOs and managed care systems and all of those things. As anything else that's happening, everybody, if you're not in control of your own health, and the doctor cannot be sued and the HMO cannot be sued for malpractice, and you literally are told, your doctors are literally told that if they tell you certain things that will cost them money, that they will take away from their practices, and they let veterans die and they don't search for the answers to it.
Okay,
but not the VA, then that issue must be dealt with. Next, we're moving into a place where one of the things that I talked about is that what's happened in the Middle East and in Egypt, and as these issues are developed, this place will hit a boiling point in the next year. We'll hit a boiling point. We have to really watch out for what will develop from all of that in the Middle East. And one of the things that were a trigger point in it, and I just found this out the other week when when we talked the first time, I kept seeing an army of women marching marching into Europe. And I discovered, this lady sent me a copy of Time magazine that said that there was an army of women prepared to train to march into Iran and Afghanistan to fight for the Islamic issues dealing with women, because they were, it was like really severe Islamic issues. This was one of the key factors. Another one of the key factors that I described for years is the development of a type of army or a police that would have a blue and silver uniform on, blue like with a silver colors to it, that would be a combined force of the Palestinian and Israeli police force. And if we watch what's happening in the issues, which everybody said I was crazy when I said this in the early days, now there's a Palestinian Authority that's about to begin to work and become more strict and crack down even more. And if people read in Saved by the Light, I describe literally the peace accord, literally, and this is like 1975 art. There have been no new predictions. I mean, I hear people say that I've come up with new ones, but I haven't. It's the same ones. I just learned more about what I saw. What we have to do is we have to prepare for a period of time, just like from El Nino to disease. We have to prepare to go through a transition in this millennium. But the really golden light about it is in health care, that if we watch and keep access to medical treatment open, we will develop whole new fields of medicine that deal with magnetics, just like what's on your water pipe, just like what is used in therapies for light therapy in the energy bodies. And if we have that kind of health and perspective of our emotional and spiritual self, it doesn't matter what's happening. But we're in for startling revelations about who we really are, and a control system trying to put in place from V-chips all the way to the new Millennium 2000 program initiated by our government. It has to be watched very, very closely, because if you look at it and you read everything that the administration says they're going to do, it says they're really going to stick their nose in every bit of your business and seek to control it in every aspect of how you gather your information.
All right. A few quick calls. Wildcard line, you're on there with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Good evening, Art, and hi, Dannion. How are you doing?
Who's this?
This is Tony in Las Vegas.
Hi, Tony.
How are you?
You're pretty good.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I guess I'll ask the longest one first. Medical access drugs are one thing, but what's your opinion on the government, a government that has been claiming for years there's a drug war, but and has a president who smoked pot and police that go after penny economically starving drug users that simply are not the ones responsible for bringing the drugs in, and all the while keeping really hardcore drugs.
All right, what you're really asking, Tony, and we're going to hold it at that, is Dannion's opinion on the drug war.
It's a scam. My personal opinion. There is not you control people. This is something I've learned from my history, not something I've learned intuitively or from a vision. I've lived in a part of this world where you saw all that stuff go on, and you watched it from a point of, it was how they appear, how our government appears to control so much of the daily lives of what we call the people in a very economically depressed situation. And I believe it has a lot to do with the control of that. And I don't have any problems with people smoking marijuana. I have hospice patients who have chemotherapy, who can't eat, who are so sick that their hair is falling out. And I watch them smoke a couple of joints and get hungry and eat for the first time in 2 days, who smile and who go to sleep. So when I listen to all that, I think that all those people in Washington who are condemning the people who are trying access to medical to find these alternative therapies, I believe they ought to have them about 4 chemotherapies and ask them again. Because then there is where that
Boy, am I with you. Am I ever with you?
The other point is, when they say they're going to take marijuana, which I don't really know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not for drugs. I'm not for that. I'm for discipline and control and spiritual unfoldment. When you realize that they're going to cut marijuana off at its source, and that means you're going to have to arrest Mother Nature and God because it's a weed that goes wild all over the world, you're getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're devoting, actually, the lion's share of the budget to marijuana eradication. It's absolutely asinine.
I mean, that's so... I believe that the billions of dollars, there's one more government fiefdom and one more self-perpetuating system.
That's exactly right.
And if anybody who realizes in the early days of when President Nixon invented the DEA, everybody knew that it was his private secret army that gave him a way to invade and control and operate within countries all over the world, from the Middle East to Latin America. And he stated it, him and Henry stated it over and over in various statements throughout Senate investigations and stuff.
I remember. We're short on time, Dannion. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Hi, Art. Hi, Dannion. This is Eric in Austin, Texas.
Hi, Eric.
I am a technological remote viewer specializing in remote viewing and computer systems and different technologies and that sort of discipline. I was kind of wondering, I have also had experiences that have gone beyond that, and especially into possible personal problems and so forth and so on. I'm wondering, how do I trust that and so forth and so on, and how do I deal with it? Because sometimes it just freaks me out, and tonight it's just like I've had this interesting experience with my wife, and needless to say, what I sensed wasn't too pleasant.
Well, I can tell you this. First, get over it. Okay, because number one, Aaron, you probed it. When you're talking about the issue with your wife, you are probing it. It's you testing your abilities, but also paying attention to things that's not any of your business. She has her own private world, and yes, she told you two things that didn't flat fit together, and then you piece the third part of this puzzle in. Okay? Now, in remote viewing, that's a very easy thing to do. When you start letting go of the intellectual place of remote viewing and drifting one or two levels deeper in your ethereal self, you're going to start dealing with the emotions of the things. What you should do is focus it toward hospice. I am a broken record about this, because you can find control, compassion, access, love, devotion, and everything that brings those people back into your life instead of pushes them away.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Yes.
Where are you?
This is Susanna from Oregon.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi, Dannion. How are you doing? Art, I spoke to you about 2 weeks ago when the Free Jays were on. One of the last callers.
Yes.
That was a lady that had problems with prophetic dreams.
Yes.
Email's been shut down at the college. That's why I haven't been calling. But for Dannion, same question I asked the Free Jays. I've just had a very erratic talent, if you will. And it's been very trying, because sometimes here I am and I get too much information. I just get completely snowballed, like you said, where...
Been there, done that.
You just can't shut it off. And I'm not a verbal, audible, sound, mental word picture person. I get emotions. So basically, it's like somebody taking a ping pong racket and banging me on the head several times and saying, "Here, feel that?" Well, and other times I'm just as dead as a post.
What you should do is focus on loving something. How I found out the greatest control when it's just data input, because I love data input, but I also have learned through going through the near-death experiences that I love emotional input. So when you're starting to get bombarded and that bombardment of information overloads circuitry, focus on loving something. I mean, go love something. If it's a beautiful garden, if it's a garden spot, if it's a room that you decorate, if it's an altar or something that you build in your house that has little pieces to it that you can go and focus on. Because as you begin to focus on that and the pieces on it, you begin to gain control back of yourself. I run into places where people's emotions override me, and what I do is I have little objects, like I carry a little card with me that has a what's called the light centers in the body, and I pull it out and I focus on it, and I look at those colors and I breathe in those colors until I find the level of where I'm calm again, and then I just separate the information and try to help the people that I'm around.
Dannion, that has to do it. We're out of time. It's gone. Gone.
Well, it was fun, Art.
Yep. So stay where you are for a while until you feel right about moving. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for having me, Art, and please have me back again.
You know I will, Dannion. And listen, stay on the line for a minute, all right?
Okay.
All right. That's it for now, folks. If you would like a copy of tonight's program, you can get it by calling 1-800-917-4278. That's 1-800-917-4278 from an area near Dreamland. This has been Dreamland. Good night.